Dave negotiated a good deal for us, in our opinion. We signed a deal. Early the next morning, Havoc came knocking on my door, hyped up, with the first half of our advance money. My moms had moved to Jersey City for a little while to get away from Left Rack after I was arrested for selling crack my freshman year. I wouldn't wake up until Hav eventually started banging. Still groggy, I opened the door, and Hav stood there smiling with a mouthful of gold teeth, 10 separate caps lining his top row, a brand new Pele Pele leather jacket, and an envelope full of cash. "What's this?" I asked. "I picked up our advance today," he said. "We split $12,000, $6,000 apiece. Come on, let's go shopping." I learned how to make beats in my grandmother's basement with Grandpop's records. My grandfather left me his entire jazz collection from all his travels. Looking back at his life and the way he died, I realized that Grandpops did it real big. His friend Quincy Jones detailed a lot of their wild times on tour in his autobiography. Grandpops died while touring the world at age 73. I used to think, I want to go out just like that. But as I got older, I realized that I wanted to live much longer. A handful of our songs were sampled from his collection. We rushed recording the whole album at 510 Studio and didn't try hard to make hit records. I spent $2,200 on some studio gear and taught myself how to make beats. Hav would come to the crib and watch me put ideas together in the basement. I taught him how to use the equipment. He picked it up fast. "Hold up, let me try something real quick," he'd say while I was working on the track. Then he'd hog it for hours. I swear, it seemed like Hav was guided by spirits when he was on that sampler. He had this blank, yet intense look in his eyes, like he was possessed. I let him do his thing. It was really kind of amazing. After a while, I'd leave the basement while he was working on the track, smoke a blunt, drink a 40 with my Long Island crew, come back with food and beer for Hav, and he'd be done. Then we work on the lyrics. Havoc used to write some of my rhymes because my style and flow didn't match the unique style and flow he had coming from Queensbridge. He wrote my rhyme on Peer Pressure and a couple of other songs on that album. But after that, I caught on just as fast as he caught on with the beats. I put my own twist on it, and when I wrote verses, I always felt a higher power guiding me. It surprised me what I wrote sometimes. Not the things that I said, but the way I said it. Like a force in my head was telling me, "No, nigga, say it this way." We made 3 beats on that album, but we just started learning how to make them. So that's exactly how the beat sounded, amateur. We shot 2 videos, one for a song called Hit It From the Back in Laurelton, Queens, and another for Peer Pressure in the Lower East Side, Manhattan. Our album Juvenile Hell was released in 1993, a year after we recorded it, and was a flop. It sold a little over 20,000 copies, and the label dropped us quick fast. We learned a serious lesson. We had to take songwriting and producing seriously, or we wouldn't get another chance. Our excuse was that we were only 17 when we recorded the music, just kids. We were still learning. But there are no excuses in this business. You either do or you die. While we were on the promo tour for the album, Nas dropped the Illmatic album. That really overshadowed our feeble attempt at rap music. Illmatic was, and still is, one of the best rap albums ever. Nas was an incredible songwriter, and the beats he chose were just as good. Halftime, produced by Large Professor, was the best song out. During an in-store appearance in Washington, D.C., they were playing that song. When I attack, there ain't an army that can strike back, so I react never calmly on the hype track. Whenever I freestyle, I see trap, niggas say I'm wild. I hate a rhyme, bite his rhyme. Stay tuned, now soon the real rap comes at halftime. It made us want to hurry home and start working on a new album. Even though Juvenile Hell wasn't a big success, the U.S. promotional tour across California and the entire East Coast built us a cult following. While we were in Cali, it blew our minds to find fans who had cassettes of the entire 50-song demo we recorded in Coney Island. For our demo to travel from New York across the map to Cali before the internet or mixtapes meant that people were really feeling us. We did college and underground radio interviews. In New York, Stretch Armstrong and Bobbito were among the first to show us love and play our music on Columbia University's radio station, WKCR. The Nas Illmatic craze helped boost our popularity because DJs and press people will always ask, "So, you're from the same hood as Nas, huh?" The Hit It From The Back video was so erotic, filled with fat asses and explicit lyrics, that it started getting burned on the Playboy channel. "Cunt little stunt with my butter dick, shorty. You talk too much, so lay back and enjoy the blunt." So like I said, we made ourselves a little cult following. One night around Halloween, we did a show at the Nottington House, a small spot right behind the Rib Shack restaurant on Linden Boulevard in Jamaica, Queens. While we were on stage performing Hit It From The Back, a bunch of dudes in the crowd were giving us a cold stare. "We tired of all that Queensbridge shit," they started yelling. "Fuck Queensbridge, Southside, nigga." Pandemonium broke out when we got off the stage. People throwing bottles and chairs and running everywhere. Come to find out, it wasn't just South Jamaica niggas tired of all the Queensbridge hype. This kid named T, who was on stage with us that night, had beef with some dudes out there. Man, they was trying to kill him. The brawl inside erupted to gunfire outside. Hundreds of shots let off that night. The Camry we rode away in just so happened to be the car T rode in. We had to duck on the car floor because bullets was blasting through the windows. This fool almost got us killed. When we got the news from our manager that the label had dropped us after the album tanked, we were already working on new music, so it fueled us. We fired our manager Dave and hired this girl Keisha, our man LeBron from Art and Design's sister. Keisha had her own apartment in Harlem on 149th Street and St. Nicholas Ave, almost directly across the street from the famous Branson candy store. Keisha invited Havoc and me to move in with her. We took her up on that offer. Havoc and I still use our little studio at my crib, but spent most of our time at Keisha's. The neighborhood had tons of females. Keisha had this fine-ass cousin named Dahlia who would come over to do Keisha's hair and nails. Dahlia was bad as hell. Light-skinned, with chinky eyes, with her hair in a wrap with colorful hairpins, slim-bodied, nice curves in the right places. Dahlia was at least 6 years older and had a man, but I was a fly little nigga who was already taking other niggas' women. I was dead set on getting with her. Keisha went out one night and left Hav and me with the apartment. After a few hours, Dahlia and one of her girlfriends came over. A big Andre the Giant-looking creature with a slight Billy D mustache. Dahlia sat at the dinette table with me and got right down to business. "I heard you wanted to see me," she said. I was shocked. She told me that she had a man, then grabbed her girlfriend and went into the bedroom to tell her something. "Yo, she on you, kid," Hav said. "I bet you can hit that right now. If I were you, I'd take in the bedroom when they come back out. Yo, what's up with her friend, though? She kinda whack, right?" I laughed in agreement as the girls came back out. Dahlia and I went into the bedroom and started kissing, closed the door, and took off our clothes. She handed me a condom and started riding me. Her big brick cell phone rang. It was her man. She started arguing with him as I sucked her nipples and piped her at the same time. She's actually talking to her man while she having sex with me, I thought. She hung up on him and we kept doing us. Dahlia was a stone-cold freak. A few minutes later, Dahlia's phone rang again. Her man must have told her he was outside, 'cause she hopped up off of me and looked out the window, saying, "Oh shit." Her man was standing in front of his Cherokee Jeep, a heavy-set older dude with an afro blowout. Dahlia got some more young dick, then quickly got dressed as I kissed and sucked on her neck before she bounced. From the window, I watched the girls get into the Jeep with the dude and pull off. I asked Hav if he hit the big girl, and he said, yeah, he took one for the team. That experience ruined my image of women. Females are grimy, but that shit made me like Dahlia even more. After like 6 months of living with Keisha, we overstayed our welcome, and she stopped managing us. But our hoorah in Harlem was a good time, especially Dahlia. Havoc was tired of traveling to my crib in Long Island to record, so we agreed to move the equipment to his mom's crib in Queensbridge. 1993 in Queensbridge was a memorable year. Nas made everybody proud to be from QB. Not to mention the Juice Crew legacy, the generation of rappers that came before us in the early 80s, when I was still in Reach Day Camp. MC Shan, Coogee Rap, Biz Markie, Tragedy, Craig G, Master Ace, Big Daddy Kane, Roxanne Shante, and super producer Marley Marl, who lived in the building right next to Hav. One day, Havoc brought me to the hood photographer, Dark Brother, aka Riley's crib. A small QB apartment in the same building as the twins annoyed, right next to Hav building. This dude had pictures of everything and anything that ever set foot inside of QB. It was like the Queensbridge Museum of History, with old pictures and frames of the Juice Crew members chilling on the block, like us before we were famous. Old pictures of Havoc and Nas, a shot of Biz Markie, Big Daddy Kane, and Coogee Rap standing in the middle of one of the blocks. It blew my mind when I found out Marley Marl produced My Melody by Eric B. and Rakim. He produced the entire Paid in Full album. Wow, I was impressed. It gave me an understanding of how serious that hood was when it came to rap music history. We made a bunch of new songs that were on fire. We'd make the beats at Hav Mom's crib, then go to a new studio in downtown Brooklyn at Hoyt and Schemerhorn to record. One of Hav's older hustler homies from QB named Star paid for our sessions. Star was cool as hell. He was making so much dough that he didn't want anything in return. He just wanted to see us succeed. From the studio, we'd rush back to the hood to let everybody on the block hear our new songs. That was how we tested all our music. If the hood loved it, then the world would love it. That was our motto. That spring, we threw a big barbecue for Havoc's birthday right on his block. One of his boys from 12th Street named Trev shared the same birthday, May 21st, along with soon-to-be rap star from Brooklyn, Biggie Smalls. It was the first time we threw our own party in QB. We did it up with free food, alcohol, for whoever came through. We started shopping our new demo around. Uptown MCA was one of the first labels we tried. We met with an A&R named Puffy. Derek from school knew him from back in the day and set up the meeting. Puff loved our music. In Puff's office, he and Derek were playing around and got into a wrestling match. Derek scooped Puff up by his legs and slammed him on the desk hard, knocking stuff all over the place. Bad Boy was just starting, and Puff didn't even have any artists yet. He wanted Mobb Deep to be the first to come out on his new label. Puff had a little fame from working with Uptown MCA artists Heavy D and Finesse Sequence, a female rap duo known for their song Soul Sisters and for wearing green and yellow MCM suits. He introduced us to Andre Harrell, who was in charge of MCA's black music department. They wanted to sign us right then and there. We told them we'd think about it. Puff, who was a party promoter, invited us to a party he was throwing that night at a club called The Building on 24th Street and 6th Avenue in Manhattan. Of course we agreed. We went back to the hood, gathered up the boys, got some liquor and some mess tabs, and celebrated the offer and our new friendship with Puff. At the club, the bouncer at the front door wouldn't let us in because we looked so young. We told him we were on the list and to go get Puff. Finally, Puff came and let us in. Leaders of the new school were on stage performing when we walked in. The most hyper one of the group, Busta Rhymes, had a box of promotional cassettes he was tossing into the crowd. When he tossed the last cassette, he flung the empty box into the crowd and hit me dead in my forehead. I was pissed, but more embarrassed than anything. After the show, we went backstage and I stepped to Busta. "Yo, you hit me with that fucking box, yo." I barked at him. Busta's real tall, about 6'3", so he looked down at me and said, "My bad, shorty. It was a mistake." I can't front, I was kinda starstruck, so I let it slide with a handshake. We proceeded to get drunk and high at the bar. Within an hour, a fight broke out between his crew, the Young Guns from Mount Vernon, and some other guys. Puff was visibly upset they'd broken up his party, screaming and yelling from behind a few bodyguards who had guns out. We left and went back home. Around September 1993, we brought a copy of our demo to Matty C at the Source. He called a few days before and told us he'd gotten an A&R job at this new company, Loud Records, and the president, Steve Rifkin, wanted to meet with us. Matty said he'd set up a meeting and give us a call. That weekend, Havoc wanted to chill at my grandmother's house in Long Island because he had a girl coming over and there wasn't no room in his mom's crib to get busy with girls. "She has a friend for you too," he said. "Cool, you know I'm with that," I said. So we went to Long Island. It seemed like yesterday. It was a sunny Saturday afternoon. We had the crib all to ourselves because my grandmom's was at the dance school. Hav's girl Shauna rang the bell. I was upstairs fixing up my room just in case I was getting some. Hav brought the girls to the basement and was playing records when I came down. "P, this is Kiki," Hav said, introducing me to Shauna's friend. "Kiki, that's P." Shorty was real good looking, with chinky eyes and sexy lips. I kicked it with her in the basement, then invited her upstairs so we can be alone. After talking in my room for a while, we ordered some Chinese food. The girls wanted to go to the movies, but Hav and I had different plans. After we ate, it was right back to business. Kiki and I got busy in my room. Kiki was just my type of girl because she wasn't acting all prissy and scared. Kiki was pretty and didn't front with the punani. Who wants to be turned down when you're trying to get some? I was feeling Kiki. We talked for a few hours after that. She told me how she was from Brooklyn but was living in Ridgewood, Queens. I could see myself with Kiki, I thought. She's cute with the perfect body and a tough attitude. My dream girl. Back in Queensbridge, this new rapper named Biggie Smalls started making a lot of noise with his song Party and Bullshit. "I was a terror since the public school era. Bathroom passes, cutting classes, squeezing asses. Smoking blunts was a daily routine." The Scarface twin constantly played it on his boombox out on the block. Puff signed Biggie soon after offering us that deal. Queensbridge was tremendous. Almost everybody was a drug dealer. The twins, Noyd, Trip, Gotti, the whole hood. Niggas would be outside 24/7 selling crack like it was a candy store, making thousands a day. On Fridays, the top dealers would take everybody from the crew shopping. There were almost 20 of us in the 12th Street crew. They accepted me into their crew like a brother, even though I didn't sell drugs with them and wasn't from QB. Treated me like I was one of them. They spent thousands on everybody. 20 pairs of Timberlands, 20 Champion hoodies, 20 Army jackets, 20 pants, 20 everything. If one person got, we all had. But later in life, I realized they weren't doing it because they had good hearts. It was because they weren't properly paying their dealers. So they'd take them all shopping to keep them quiet. The same way a pimp does his hoes. Keep them looking good, pretty and all that. No dough. We went shopping on Steinway Street in Astoria and clubbing at night. Mostly Puffy's parties at the building and the red zone because we can get in with no problem. We also hit the Muse, Home Base, 20 West, Club 2000, the Fever, and our favorite, the Palladium. A lot of fights, cutting faces open with razors, breaking champagne bottles over heads, gunshots, and drunken memories. We were becoming immune to the violence and danger. After Havoc's brother TJ got heavy into the drug game, he started busting his gun a lot. We gave him the nickname Killer Black. He would shoot people in a heartbeat. We couldn't bring Killer to industry functions because he might murder somebody if they looked at us wrong. I started buying bigger guns and keeping them on me at all times. Around 3 o'clock one afternoon during the school week, Dirty Harry from Hempstead, Killer, and I were walking from the Coliseum Mall on Jamaica Avenue to my car. A gang of like 40 high school kids came down the sidewalk looking to start trouble. Killer Black walked straight through the dudes, bumping hard into whoever was in his way. I knew Killer was going to do that before he even did it. So I rushed ahead to my Acura and popped the hood open and get my Mac 11 out the engine. As I popped the hood, I looked to my left and saw the police posted up in the squad car on the corner. Turning back toward Killer, I saw the pack of dudes surrounding him, about to start swinging punches. I ran over, cocked around inside the chamber of the Mac, and screamed, "Hey yo, what the fuck is up?" Everybody ran except for one kid, who dropped his backpack and stood frozen, scared to move. Killer laughed, picked up the kid's backpack, and threw it in his face. "Get the fuck out of here!" Killer yelled, and the kid ran. After that incident, Killer told that story to everybody in the projects, so I was looking good in the streets. At least niggas knew I was ready to bust my gun anywhere, even in front of the police. Killer started selling drugs with his crew on Nas's side of the projects. The head guy over there was this dude named Little Lord, a 16-year-old crack kingpin. Killer was also his gunman. Little Lord wanted to buy my Acura, so he took me to his grandmother's crib in Ravenswood. It's a crazy coincidence how all our grandmother's cribs is in Ravenswood. And he showed me his money stash. Little Lord had like $200,000 stacked in shoeboxes in a closet. I was impressed. He offered me $10,000 to buy my act, but I wasn't ready to sell it yet. A few days later, my car was stolen down the block from my crib in Hempstead. Now right away, you're probably thinking that Little Lord stole it, but he didn't even know where I lived or parked my car. I called the precinct and they found my car stripped down to the bone in Ozone Park, Queens. Damn, I should have sold it to Little Lord for that $10K. What made it even worse was that I had my Mac 11 in the engine and didn't know if the police found it or not. When I went to get the car, I took Killer and Little Lord with me. We were all nervous, wondering if they would arrest me for the gun, but nothing happened. When I saw my car, I could have cried, man. They took my white seats with the green piping, $5,000. My rims, $1,500. My steering wheel, $1,000. My passenger side airbag, $700. Dirty bastards even took my trunk lid, $1,200. $9,400 worth of shit. I popped the hood to see if my Mac was still there. Yes. At least they didn't get the burner. Little Lord gave me $2,000 cash and towed the car to his crib. I was just happy to get my Mac back. Soon after I sold the Acura skeleton to Little Lord, Havoc's little cousin from Crown Heights, Brooklyn, Ferg, moved to Queensbridge with us for a little while. Ferg was about 14 or 15. A cool little motherfucker. Crazy, but he was cool. He was laying low in QB because he'd been sticking up and shooting up too many people around his way. While Hav was in the crib working on beats, Ferg and I chilled outside on the block. If I was ever broke, Gotti or Trip from the 12th Street crew were always outside hustling. They'd give me $5 or $10 to get something to eat. I hit Gotti up a lot of times like that. One of those hungry summer days, about a week after the infamous Colin Ferguson shooting spree on the Long Island Railroad, the guy who shot all those white people dead, I took Ferg with me to my crib in Hempstead to get some more bullets for my Mac from this dude named Blot, who had everything. Blot came to my crib once trying to sell Killer and me some grenades for $40 a piece. We took the train all the way to Hempstead, and Blot wasn't anywhere to be found. We chilled for a couple hours and got back on the LIRR to Jamaica. I boarded the train first and sat down. When I looked up, I didn't see Ferg. 2 minutes later, he came walking onto the train, his hand inside of his shirt with 2 fingers poking through it like a gun. He told the passengers, "Shh, nobody fucking move. This is a stick-up. Put your wallets and your purses on the ground now." I couldn't actually hear him from where I was sitting, but seeing him with his fingers pointing through his shirt while the passengers tossing their wallets and purses on the ground, I figured it out fast. This nigga walked over to where I was sitting. "Yo, son," he said nonchalantly, laughing like it was a joke. I told these motherfuckers it's a stick-up and they believed me. One of the passengers must have told the conductor, because suddenly the police rushed the train car with guns pointed at us. "Freeze or fucking move!" I couldn't believe what this little dude just did. Not to mention that Colin Ferguson just killed all those people the week before. Ferg was charged as a minor, and they hit me with 12 counts of attempt robbery. Man, this fool had us on the front page news. Ferg went home immediately, but I was sitting in Nassau County Jail for almost a week before I was bailed out. I beat all those charges, but that was the last time I took Ferg anywhere. Before the LIRR incident, Ferg told me how he shot somebody's arms off with a shotgun and other stuff that I won't repeat. Ferg was so young and spoke so freely, I didn't believe everything he said until he got locked up a year later for cutting up a fireman with a box cutter. Ferg was sentenced to 9 years for that fireman shit and hit with more time for wilding while inside. He should be home by the time this book dropped if he calmed his hot ass down. When I lost my Acura that summer and found myself locked up again, I attempted to start making smarter decisions about my spending habits and how I was moving around. I bought a $1,000 hoopty, a 1984 Toyota Celica, light blue with white seats. Killer and I named it the Little Nigga. The twins almost died laughing when I told them my car's name. Havoc bought a burgundy 1990 Toyota Camry for $4,000. Nas was riding around the hood in a gold 1995 Lexus GS, and it wasn't even 1995 yet. Nas's debut, Illmatic, had gone gold in October 1994, and he was having a party at the Melting Pot nightclub in Manhattan. The whole QB went. The party was popping for a few hours when some guy in a wheelchair started beefing with one of the QB homies. How was somebody in a wheelchair still beefing? I thought to myself. Everybody from the hood was upset because Nas's moms and baby mom's Carmen was in there and shouldn't be exposed to the needless drama. So one of the QB dudes kicked the wheelchair gangster in the chest, knocked him out the wheelchair, and started brawling with his crew. People got shot, stabbed, cut, and beat down. It seemed people didn't believe what we said in our songs, or they didn't care and had a fetish for pain. It's mind-boggling. We went home and saw it on the news later. We found out that the cops ran into the Melting Pot after the gunfire and saw T, the kid those guys were trying to kill that night at the Nottington House show in Jamaica, toss the gun. Damn. Meanwhile, Little Lord, who bought my Acura, got locked up for carjacking somebody at gunpoint for their Maxima in Queensbridge while we were all at Nas's party. He was probably trying to get rims and an airbag from my stripped Acura. I heard he got 5 to 10 years for that. At least he got to be in our peer pressure video before he got knocked. After Nas's party, I started thinking about that girl Kiki who Hav hooked me up with. I kept thinking about her. I wanted to tell her how much I liked her and that we should be a serious couple. I asked Hav to get her number from his girl Shauna, and Kiki and I started being together every day. We just clicked, like we were made for each other. She'd come to QB, we'd go to the movies and dinner, or to the park to talk, kiss and stare at each other. You know, the young love shit. Kiki had just moved from Ridgewood to Corona, which was closer to QB. I knew Hav and I had some hit records on our hands, and our whole life was about to change as soon as we dropped this album. I wanted to have Kiki with me before it all went down. Kiki was fucking with some dudes on the side, but I was determined to change all that. After about a month, Kiki started sneaking me into her crib late at night. She had a walk-in closet where I slept, so her moms wouldn't catch me in the morning when she got up for work. It was better than sharing the bed with Havoc. Sometimes I slept at the twins' crib, but they had 2 other brothers plus 2 sisters. I slept on the top bunk, and there was mad roaches on the ceiling, so I had to wrap myself up in the sheets like a mummy. Fuck that. I'd rather sleep in the closet at Kiki's crib. I would spend all day in Queensbridge and get a small bottle of Hennessy and a blunt and take the 7 train from Queens Plaza to Kiki's crib in Corona. She lived directly across the street from the Hall of Science in Flushing Meadow Park. We'd snuggle up watching TV, getting nice off the Hennessy, then we'd get busy on the couch while her moms were sleeping. Sex with her was definitely the best I ever had. We fell in love quick, but we were both still running around doing dumb shit. Women advance faster than men, so I believe she was ready to be serious and I was the one fucking up. I really loved Kiki, but I was still a young dumbass. Kiki had a younger cousin, Robbie, who came by the crib a lot to drink and smoke weed with us. He'd always sing along with the James Brown song, The Big Payback, and had us cracking up. Kiki had a 3-year-old daughter from a past relationship named Kizana. A lot of people would run away from a female with a kid, but I was willing to accept her with her child because I was feeling her a lot. Shauna and Havoc warned me to be careful with Kiki because she used to mess with this dude from Brooklyn who would still come around and see her sometimes. But I didn't care about no nigga. If it was going to be a problem, then I was well equipped to handle it. When I asked her about it, Kiki claimed that she didn't mess with the kid anymore, but I didn't know what was true or false because we were still learning about each other. I was more than willing to find out though. Kiki's favorite music was Jodeci, an R&B group that Puffy had just signed to Uptown MCA. She also loved Teddy Riley's group, Guy, but her all-time favorite was Prince. I mean, this girl was in love with Prince and Purple Rain. One thing I learned about Kiki right away was that she had a passion for music and poetry. She told me she dreamed of being a singer or songwriter someday, so she understood my passion for rap. The number one thing I loved about her, besides her inner and outer beauty, was how she never harassed or interrogated me when I spent long hours in the studio. I would see other dudes' girlfriends paging and calling them nonstop while we were trying to work, but Kiki encouraged me to work harder and gave me my space. She got major points for that. Chapter 5. The infamous. Life is a gamble, we scramble for money. I might crack a smile, but ain't a damn thing funny. I'm caught up in the dirt where your hands get muddy. Plus the outcome turns out to be lovely. Eye for an eye, your beef is mine. Maddie C called to set up a meeting with Loud Records. The twins, Killer, Havoc, and I went to Times Square to meet with Maddie C, Scott Free, who was another A&R, and Steve Rifkin, the founder and chairman of the label. Loud Records was just 4 cubicles in the RCA building representing the Alcoholics, PMD, and a new group from Staten Island called Wu-Tang Clan, none of whom had any hit records at the time. Wu-Tang's single Protect Your Neck had just started playing on the radio. Steve had long hair like a surfer and didn't look like he knew what he was doing. He did, though. Sitting around the table, they listened to our songs in a big conference room with a good sound system. Their favorite was The Patty Shop by the weed spot uptown, plus a song called Shook Ones Part 1. These were the same songs we played for Puff and Andre Harrell, and just like them, Steve offered us a deal right then and there. After the meeting, sitting in the hallway with Scott Free and Killer, Scott asked us about QB and the lifestyle out there. I just so happened to have a Tech 9 in my pants, so I pulled it out. "This is how life is," I said. Scott's face looked shocked that I could have such a big gun on me without him knowing. Like, this little kid's got a big-ass gun in the corporate office. I wasn't showing off, he asked, and that's how we were living. A week later, we signed to Loud and started working on our second album. They gave us a $60,000 budget, $20,000 for our pockets. We decided to call the album The Infamous. Yami from Has Block gave us the name. He had the most infamous tattooed on his bicep in black ink. We were already Mobb Deep, but he dubbed us the infamous Mobb Deep. This was our second chance to show the world that Mobb Deep was something special. So we focused on our lyrics and production skills, bringing Q-Tip in to help us master the sound. We finished the whole album in 4 months. I started sniffing and smoking coke in 1995 during the making of The Infamous. A lot of niggas in the hood was selling and doing it, so it was easy to get. It was just a phase. Wu-Tang Clan had just gone gold, and they were pulling in a lot of money for the record company. Scott Free, who's from Staten Island, brought Wu to Loud. His dream was to have Raekwon and Ghostface collaborate with Mobb Deep, so he took us on the ferry to Staten Island. We walked from Scott's house to the Harbor Projects and chilled in Wu's hood, smoking Angel Dust blunts with Ray and Ghost and 2 white kids in the silver Benz. Ray and Ghost drove us back to QB and dropped us off on 10th Street in Ray's navy blue Acura Legend. Raekwon was working on Only Built for Cuban Links, and he said he wanted to work with Nas, so we hooked it up when we saw Nas the next day. A few days later, at Platinum Island Studio in downtown Manhattan, we made an Eye for an Eye, Your Beef Is Mine, featuring Nas and Raekwon, and Right Back At You, featuring Ray, Ghost, and Noid. There was an ill energy in the air, like, damn, everybody in this room is hot right now. The Infamous took off like a rocket before it was even released. The Shook Ones remix, Shook Ones Part 2, was the biggest song on the album, and then came Survival of the Fittest. While we were shooting the video for Survival of the Fittest, even though we'd signed to Steve Rifkin instead of him, Puffy pulled up on the hill in Queensbridge in a white stretch limo and made a cameo appearance out of nowhere, unannounced. Even Nas made a cameo in that video. That was how we convinced Noid to start rapping. He saw that we were really going somewhere. Noid used to kick great verses on the block and in the Honeycomb, but he wasn't into rap. He just wanted to sell drugs. Noid ended up kicking some of the most memorable verses on that album. On Right Back At You with Ray and Ghost, people say that Noid killed it the most. Our singles and videos started getting major burn on radio and TV, so we were on fire and the album wasn't done yet. While we were wrapping up the last few songs in Hempstead, some strange white dude with long hair and a beard came walking through Queensbridge with a Bible in his hand. He walked up to random people asking, "Do you know Prodigy? I have to speak with him." People looked at this fool like he was a basket case. This white dude walked around the projects for hours, asking how he could find me. Finally, he walked up to my man Ops. who told him to go to Havoc's apartment, 3A. The dude knocked on Hav's door. Killer, Havoc's uncle La, and twin Gambino opened it. "Is Prodigy here?" the dude asked. "Fuck is you?" Killer said. "And what you want with P?" "I got a message for him," the white dude said. "Please get him, it's important." "What message? Who are you?" Killer asked. "The message is only for Prodigy. I've been sent to give it to him myself. It's very important," the white dude said. "Please go get him." Killer thought the kid was a lunatic, so he pulled a gun on him and pushed him down the staircase. Gambino had to stop Killer from hurting him. Then Gambino asked the dude, "What's the message? I'm going to tell P for you. He's not here right now." "I've been sent to tell Prodigy who he is and his purpose on this planet." The white dude started telling Twin bugged out stuff. "Prodigy is an angel, and people have written about him in the book of Revelations. He's powerful and people want to kill him." "Who sent you?" Gambino asked. And who wants to kill P?" "God sent me," the white dude replied. "I won't reveal who he said wanted to kill me, but it sounded very crazy." Gambino and Killer kicked him out the building, and he continued to walk around the projects in search of me. When I came back to the hood the next day, I saw Ops outside, and he told me about the dude. I didn't believe Ops, but Twin and Killer confirmed it was true. Twin explained everything he was saying, and it was the weirdest shit I ever heard in my life of living. Our music was affecting people in all kinds of ways. People went nuts for Shook Ones and Survival of the Fittest. So I just figured the white dude was a Looney Tune and an early Mobb Deep fanatic. We were making groundbreaking hit records for the hood and quickly becoming the most elite rappers in the world, responsible for creating one of the best eras in hip-hop history. The 90s, Nas, Mobb Deep, Wu-Tang Clan, Biggie, and Jay-Z. A changing of the guard. The West Coast had been dominating rap before we came out. Death Row was the biggest thing in rap. But when 95 hit, that changed. Shit, we were all influenced by each other in one way or another. The West Coast inspired us to do better, and I'm sure we inspired them, so it was all good. Everything was going perfect, just as we was completing the infamous gunshots. I was taking a cat nap late at night in Hav's crib when shots rang through Hav's open bedroom window. 15 minutes later, Killer rushed upstairs, drunk, with a set of Walkman speakers in one hand and my .22 revolver in the other. "Hide the gun," he said coolly, handing it to me. "What happened?" I asked. "I think I just murked somebody for his Walkman speakers," Killer said. Wow, he just killed a dude over nothing, I thought. Walkman speakers? I tucked the gun away under a mess of balled up clothes in Hav's dresser for the time being, and tried to figure out exactly what happened. From Hav's window, I could see the crime scene, police lights, yellow tapes, cops are everywhere, but they had no clue as to what happened either. All they had was a body. Killer was trying to calm down and figure out his next move. He definitely had to leave the hood. Hav walked into the crib within an hour, and Killer explained what happened. We stayed up all night talking about what he should do, where to hide, how to flee the projects without the cops spotting him. I took Killer to lay low in my crib in Long Island until he can get down south to his people in North Carolina. The next day, Hav Moms found a gun in the dresser and gave it to the pastor at the church. She didn't know what had happened. She found the gun in the house, and the first thing that came to her mind was to give it to the church. Killer hid out in the hood in Hempstead called Terrace by the bus terminal, then skipped town. After we found out the cops were definitely looking for Killer, we made the song Temperatures Rising about the situation. What up, Black? Hold your head wherever you at. Wanna float from the cops with wings on your back. The infamous went gold in 30 days, and we were off on another promo tour. This time across the entire East Coast, Midwest, West Coast, and Europe. We brought the whole crew with us. We were getting a lot of love on the East Coast, but out west in California and the UK, they were die-hard Mobb Deep fans. You could tell by the intense looks on their faces as their heads bopped. On the east side, our friend Puff Daddy was turning his new company, Bad Boy, into a powerhouse. Biggie Smalls dropped his hit debut, Ready to Die. The Scarface twin loved Biggie. I told you, he was hype. I told you this nigga's hot. We were cool with Puff, even though he was mad at us for not signing with Bad Boy. He put us on the Big Mac tour with Biggie and another new rapper named Craig Mack, performing at big venues all across the East Coast and getting paid. The wildest night on that tour was at a club in Cleveland, Ohio, a real rowdy crowd. Our crew was always prepared for drama. Before the show that night, we had a big steak dinner and stole 3 steak knives. We would make weapons out of anything. We'd order room service, and I'd take the fork and bend down the 2 prongs at each end, squeezing together the 2 prongs in the middle to make an ice pick. At the venues, I might have to poke somebody in their eye or neck. Fuck that. We performing in hoods all over America. Better safe than sorry. At showtime, Craig Mack opened up. Mobb Deep, then Biggie. But when Craig Mack took the stage to perform, somebody from the crowd jumped up and snatched the microphone from his hand before spraying mace in his face. Mack ran backstage, warning everybody, "Don't go out there. Don't go out there, them niggas is crazy." Backstage, I overheard Biggie tell his manager to let him go on next instead of Mobb Deep so he can get the money and get out of there. Our crew just laughed and sat back to watch. Biggie and C's went on stage, and sure enough, 5 seconds later, they came tripping down the stairs, running out the club. Mace flooded the air. It was hard to breathe. People were running all over the place and fighting the police. Pandemonium. Them Ohio niggas wasn't playing. I guess they wanted to show us Ohio was gangster too. My man Ron Dew, a hustler from Queensbridge, and I pulled our knives out and made our way to the exit. We couldn't find our car or driver in the side alley, so we hopped into the van with Biggie and C's. That was the first time on that tour we really kicked it with each other. I had a copy of The Infamous in my pocket, and I gave it to them. We played it on the way to the hotel while passing blunts, then got some groupies back at the hotel. For the remaining month of the tour, we'd get drunk and high together before and after all the shows. Next, it was off the tour on our own in California. We had 3 days off, so I chilled at home with Kiki. When it was time for me to bounce, she wanted me to leave my hoopty, the little nigga, with her. I thought about it for 10 minutes. All I could think about was her driving and see some other nigga in my car. Hell no. I told her no, and she was mad at me. The night before leaving town, I went to Long Island to smoke some angel dust and get drunk with my niggas. The next morning, I got up early and was weaving in and out of lanes on the Long Island Expressway, blasting Raekwon's Glaciers of Ice, flying through traffic. I tapped the back of another car, and little nigga did a 360 in the middle of the highway. Buses and 16-wheeler trucks was coming at me full speed, but the higher powers were on my side. My car spun around and landed safely on the shoulder of the road and smacked into a concrete wall. My little nigga was destroyed. Whoa. My hands were shaking. That was a close call. I didn't have a license or anything. I grabbed my bag and my boombox. The car radio didn't work because it was a hoopty. Snatched the plates and the stickers off the car as fast as I could and walked quickly to the next highway exit to catch a cab to the airport. It was definitely the dust, and Raekwon's purple tape that had me want to drive extra fast. In the cab, all I could think about was Kiki asking to borrow the car while I was gone. Damn, I should have left it with her. Fuck it. Little nigga only cost me $1,000. I'll buy a new one when I get back from Cali. In California, Loud had a West Coast office. A rep named Bigger B showed us all over Cali. I've been visiting Cali since I was a little kid with my grandmother. This time I got to see the real deal on the west side, from LA to the Bay, Sacramento, and San Jose. Bigger B was the man out there. He made sure the entire state was hip to Mobb Deep by the time we were done with that tour. After the West Coast promo tour, it felt good to be back home and finally have everybody recognizing us in the street, asking for autographs and telling us that they loved our music. But disappointment hit when we found out the D's caught Killer down south. They had his pager tapped. The D's had shown up at Carrie's crib in Long Island where Killer had used the phone a few times. They traced the calls and came asking Carrie and his mother about his whereabouts, but they didn't say a word. Killer did about a year in Rikers Island when Havoc started getting word from the lawyer he hired for his brother's case that somebody from QB was snitching, but he didn't have a name yet though. That summer, Raekwon dropped his solo album Only Built for Cuban Links, and to promote both Ray and Mobb Deep, Steve Rifkin invited 30 of the top DJs from all over the country to Long Island to play paintball with us. Rappers versus the record labels and the DJs. A video station called the Jukebox Network came to film. I didn't last more than 30 minutes before I got shot up and killed off the team. Yo, them paintballs hurt. Later that night, Steve surprised us by throwing us a small private after party at the Marriott in Long Island where all the DJs were staying. We were chilling on the couches talking with Ray and Ghost and other Wu-Tang members when Steve walked in and surprised us, presenting us with our gold plaque for the infamous album. Wow, gold plaque. I really didn't give a fuck. I wanted money, not plaques. But it was definitely a great achievement. I was still staying at my grandmother's house sometime, so I just propped it on the floor against the wall. Method Man from Wu-Tang was also gearing up to drop his solo album that summer. A couple of weeks after the paintball game, Meth performed at the Jones Beach Greek Fest. Yo, that nigga ripped it. I was with Illa G, his boy Ant, Carrie from my block in Hempstead, and his boy Ali. We was super high and drunk. Walked around for a few hours, kicked it with some broads. Thousands of girls, yo. It started pouring rain, so we took it back to my crib for more blunts and liquor. I did a few lines of coke on the low in the bathroom. Nobody knew I was sniffing coke. I used to see my pops do it when I was young and always wanted to try it. I got addicted right away. It's a real nasty habit. If you watch the Shook Ones video, I was real coked up. You could see it in my eyes. I was sniffing about 5 or 6 grams a day, rolled up with my weed and in my cigarettes. The more I used, the more I needed to get high. Coke makes you hyper with quick blasts of energy. At parties in Queensbridge, some of the older gangsters would be in the bathroom doing lines. They pass it right over like, here you go, shorty, take it easy now. None of Havoc's boys was into coke. If they found out, they probably would have punched me in my chest and told me, playing yourself, and tried to take it from me. The only thing they were into was getting high for weed, getting drunk, getting pussy, and selling crack. Puffy signed a female R&B artist to Uptown MCA, Mary J. Blige, who had a few hits out. Real Love, What's the 411, and You Remind Me, and was celebrating her album release party at the Supper Club near Times Square. We shot our video for Give Up the Goods in that club. It's a nice looking place. Mary J. wanted Mobb Deep to perform. Havoc, Gotti, Trip, Ty, the twins and I all wore Black Infamous t-shirts. As soon as we walked in the Supper Club, all eyes was on us, because mostly everybody was dressed upscale. Mary J. stepped right to us. She thanked us for coming to perform, introduced us to her little brother, and asked if we wanted anything to drink. We told her Hennessy, so she got us a bottle and we chilled in the VIP. Mary J. introduced us to the stage, and we killed Shook Ones, Survival of the Fittest, and Give Up the Goods, while Mary and her girlfriends were wilding out in the front row. We kept the show short and got back to the party, which was packed with so many females, we didn't know where to start. Some girls with different color minks followed us to the projects in the white bands. We took them to the Honeycomb, and niggas ran the train on 2 of them. I took one of them to Pebble Beach and got some head. We call all project roofs Pebble Beach, because they're lined with pebbles, and it just sounds better than let's have sex on the roof. She didn't let me hit it. She said she wanted to be with me and didn't want me to think she was a hoe. I wasn't interested in being serious with nobody but Kiki anyway. Shorties used to be open to come to Queensbridge. They'd be mesmerized by the hood, asking where was Nas at. The next night, we had a show at the Velvet Room on 23rd Street by the West Side Highway. Kiki came. This was her first time coming to one of our shows. A limo picked 20 of us up from Queensbridge, and we all wore Carhartt suits, black, brown, gray, navy blue, and forest green. I had a pint of E&J in my pocket to drink with Kiki after the show. I told her to hold it for me until we were done on stage. When we finished performing, I asked her for the bottle of E&J, and she laughed, passing me an empty bottle. This girl drank the whole damn bottle, Dolo. I couldn't believe it. E&J is strong. Oh well. The crew got back in the limo and we rode back to the hood. After everybody got out, I told the limo driver to drop Kiki and me off in Corona at her crib. But Havoc wanted to take the limo to his girl's crib in Astoria. We started arguing. Fuck it, I said. Kiki and I got out and walked to Queens Plaza to catch the train in a damn blizzard. As the limo pulled away, I picked up a bottle off the street and threw it, trying to break the back window, but I missed. I was pissed off that Havoc couldn't just drop us off. On the train, Kiki had her face in her bubble goose collar. It was cold, but her face was in there a little too long. I asked her if she was okay. Then I saw her shoulders jumping like she was throwing up. This girl threw up in her coat, but she was too embarrassed to throw up in front of me. I told her she was crazy, but it was okay. Stumbling drunk, I held her up on the walk home from the train station. Luckily, her mom's wasn't home. I helped her get undressed, put her in the shower, and then fell out until late the next afternoon. I woke up and bounced back to Queensbridge because we had another show in the city for that night. Onyx was shooting a video at Irving Plaza, Union Square, in Manhattan. They wanted Mobb Deep to do a cameo. Chilling outside with the twins and a few of our boys between the scenes. Irving Plaza was right across the street from my old summer school, Washington Irving. This rapper named Keith Murray walked up and asked if I was taking shots at him on the intermission skit on The Infamous, when I vented all my frustration from my first album flopping. Sick with my mouth, I said, "Nigga, if the shoe fits." This bitch-ass nigga just walked away from me and never said anything else. Can you believe that? If you listen to the skit, I didn't say any names or directed at anyone in particular. And no, yeah, so all them rap-ass niggas with your half-ass rhymes talk about how much you get high, how much weed you smoke, and that crazy space shit that don't even make no sense. Don't never speak to me when you see me, word. So, if someone thinks that skit is towards them, he must have some insecurity and feel that way about himself. Fucking punks. A new club opened up on the West Side Highway in Manhattan called The Tunnel. And oh my God, Jesus Christ, we would be in that spot every Sunday like church. Funkmaster Flex DJ'd along with his fella in Big Cap. This was the mecca of all clubs, the best club that ever opened in America. Capacity 4,000, co-ed bathrooms. It was our generation Studio 54. We ran through the tunnel like we owned it. This dude named Chris Lighty, a well-known manager and party promoter, ran the door. If you weren't cool with him, you waited outside for hours upon hours and paid top dollar to get in. Chris managed the Jungle Brothers, Q-Tip, and LL Cool J. He let all 40 of us in without paying. We got so comfortable with him that one night I pulled him to the side and gave him a gun to sneak in. He did it. One gun became two 2 became 3, and the next thing you know, I was handing him book bags full of knives, shanks, screwdrivers, guns, plus other sharp and blunt objects. Chris handed the bags off to me in the bathroom, and I passed the tools out to the boys. Try to understand. Number 1, we're famous. And number 2, every hood in the tri-state area was in that club, and it was dangerous. We never started trouble, but just imagine how we could finish it. Chris was a corporate dude who dressed in hoodies, jeans, and Timberlands, and came up working with Def Jam, practically raised in the industry by Russell Simmons. One cold night, on our way inside the tunnel, Havoc and I pulled Chris to the side and asked him to manage us, since he had so much experience in the business. A smile spread across his face. "Hell yeah," he said. "I'll do that." We walked into the jam-packed tunnel one night with a crew of 50, heading toward our favorite spot, the side of the bar opposite the exit. Yemi led the pack, pushing people out our way. "Oh shit, that's Mobb Deep." We saw like 50 other niggas walking towards us, pushing people out the way too. It was Wu-Tang playing, with a sweaty, shirtless, old dirty bastard leading the pack. "Prodigy?" Old Dirty said, looking at me. "Oh shit, come here, man." He grabbed and hugged me mad tight, getting his sweat all over me. Nasty. "I love you, P," ODB said. Kissed my cheek and walked away with his crew. Every time Funkmaster Flex played Nas or Mobb Deep, we lost control, slam dancing, tossing girls in the air, spilling drinks on ourselves. Chris Lighty pulled me to the side one night, knowing he just gave me a small armory of weapons. "Please don't kill anybody in here," he said. "They have cameras all over the place now." "Don't worry. If we do something, we gonna do it right," I assured him. Kiki always wanted to come out with me, but the tunnel was just too wild. We went for sex and war and to promote Mobb Deep. Co-ed bathrooms on the second floor had about 10 stalls, and it was easy to have sex inside of them. I think Money No was the only one of us that did that. Now Shame, one of Puff's hitman producers from Cabrier Heights, Queens, and his boys had this big idea of renting a yacht and sailing around Manhattan to celebrate Mobb Deep going gold. It sounded real high class, so we agreed. They'd make all the money from the ticket sales, and we'd enjoy a yacht party with free drinks. They promoted it at beauty shops all over Queens, Manhattan, and a lot of ladies were talking about it in the street. My lady Kiki had gotten close with my boy Stobo's girlfriend, Fawn. They found out about the yacht party and wanted to come. But we weren't planning on bringing them. We wanted to stunt like single men for the night. It was my time to shine. I didn't want my girl around. The day of the party, I chilled with Kiki all afternoon. My plan was to bounce on her around party time. I felt bad because she was picking out her outfit all excited. "I'm coming with you to that party," she said. Around 6 p.m., she was in the bathroom taking a shower when I snuck out. I picked my cousin up from Flushing and we headed to the boat dock. Yes, we both dissed our girls and we were ready to have the night of our lives. When we pulled up to the dock, I couldn't believe it. Kiki and Fawn were already there waiting. They'd taken a cab and somehow made it there before us. Fuck! I was mad as hell. How did they know where to go? It felt like I was going to the party with my moms. There were so many chicks on that yacht. You always see the best ones when you with your girl. Havoc and my QB niggas were making fun of me because they were free to do what they wanted while Stobo and I were the only two dickheads with our girls. I could have flipped on Kiki, started an argument before we got on the boat so she would go home. I thought, fuck it. The yacht took off around 7 p.m. DJ Clue was spinning, and even though my girl was there, I had crazy fun drinking overproof rum, open bar all night. As the yacht circled Manhattan, Havoc and I snuck off to the bathroom and do some lines of coke. Toward the end of the night, Cormega wanted to get a rap session going, so we told Clue to play some instrumentals. We ripped it. Cormega, Havoc, Trip, Noid, Capone, Tragedy, and some niggas from Jamaica who were down with the dudes who threw the party for us. There was already animosity between Southside Jamaica and QB from back in the day. Mega and I grabbed the mic first. The dudes from Jamaica spit their rhymes, and the battle began. Tension filled the air as the session became a battle between Jamaica and QB. Everybody was drunk from the free liquor, arguing over who got next on the mic as the yacht pulled into the dock. "Back up!" 3 security guards ordered as everyone moved towards the exit. "Let the boat fully dock. It has to be tied to the pier before you can get off safely." But instead of waiting for it to dock, a few QB niggas tried to hop off early. My man Ice went first. A security guard started spraying mace in my man's face. Ice knocked him down, and it was on after that, an all-out brawl. Through all the commotion, Kiki and I lost each other, so I hopped off right behind Ice, Money No, Ty Nitty, Scarface Twin, and Capone to wait for her on the pier. A guy was standing at the top of the steps that we were running up to make it into the parking lot. Capone walked straight up to the dude and cut him across his face for no reason with a little Gemstar box cutter razor. Nitty and Money No dropped a giant flower pot on his head and kicked him into the Hudson River. The kids' boys came running off the boat straight up to Pone and jumped him. Twin Gambino started letting off shots, and everyone on the pier was ducking, running, and hiding. People getting tossed into the water. I pulled my orange box cutter out of my pocket and started searching for Kiki. I didn't see Kiki anywhere. Maybe she stayed on the boat until things calmed down, I hope. I watched person after person until everyone was off the boat. When I turned around, Twin was swinging a long metal pole, cracking people in the head. They were dropping. I walked to the parking lot to see if Kiki was already at the car, and sure enough, she was sitting on the trunk of Little Nigga Part 2, waiting and watching. She had a look on her face like she'd been there for hours. "I don't know how the hell you got past me," I said. Capone came walking over to my car all bloody. Somebody must have hit him with a bottle. Police were pulling up, so he took his blood-stained shirt off, wiping the blood off his face with it and tossing it to me before the cops saw him. I threw it into the bushes and gave him a fresh t-shirt from the car while more gunshots were fired from the pier. My cousin Stobo and his girl ran over, and we jumped into the car and pulled off. On the way back to drop Capone off in the projects, we drove past this kid Moan from QB pedaling fast down the side of the Grand Central Parkway on an NYPD mountain bike. In the Shook Ones video, Moan was riding in the passenger seat while I'm driving the Saab across the 59th Street Bridge. He must have grabbed the bike while the cops were cuffing everybody and made a smooth getaway amid all the excitement. This nigga's on the Grand Central Parkway riding an NYPD mountain bike. Wow. Later that night, we crashed in Hempstead. Money Nose, Stobo, and I were sitting around my kitchen table talking and watching the news when clips of the Survival of the Fittest video flashed on the TV screen. Then, footage of all the bullet holes in cars at the pier parking lot and the shell casings on the ground. The news reporter called it an infamous boat ride. We were open. Our yacht party actually made the news. A couple of the dudes who got their heads cracked open with that pole tried to sue us for their hospital bills and pain and suffering a few months later. Niggas kill me. They act thug, and then when they get whooped out, they try to sue you? Shit is pathetic. A month after that yacht party, we did a show at some small club on West 20th Street in Manhattan called 20 West. Another new group, the Lost Boys from Jamaica, Queens, was also on the bill to perform. They were supposedly some gang who started rapping and had a semi-hit record called Lifestyles of the Rich and Shameless. Of course, the whole 12th Street crew came with us. Even if we didn't invite them, The whole hood would show up and get mad if everybody couldn't get in. I never understood that. If nobody invited you, how could you be mad if you can't get in? I was extra drunk. Some girl climbed onto the stage and was dancing in front of me while I was performing. Who the fuck is this jumping on the stage acting like a fool? I felt that she was disrespecting our show, so I kicked her in her back and she went flying into the crowd. I kicked the shit out of her. I was bugged out back then. A big muscle-bound bouncer was standing in front of the stage ice grilling me. He must have been upset because I kicked that girl. After the last song, I jumped off stage and punched him in his mouth. He started pounding on me. I was so drunk I didn't even feel his punches. My man Bumpy from QB helped me fight him. And then more bouncers surrounded us. Next thing I knew, all the bouncers were jumping us. Knocked to the floor, I looked up and they were carrying Bumpy up in the air while dragging me outside by my shirt. They dropped Bumpy on his head and pushed me to the curb. After that, we tore that club up, all 30 of us. We broke the windows and all the mirrors behind the bar. As we was walking back to the train station to go home, we saw like 40 dudes walking towards us from the 23rd Street train station 2 blocks away, loudly chanting, "Lost boys, lost boys." So we started chanting, "Mobb Deep, Queensbridge." And it was inevitably about to be a Royal Rumble. Already hyper from the club, we walked straight up to them. Capone set it off, pulling out a razor and cutting the closest nigga across the face. Niggas was getting stabbed, hit with metal garbage cans, no gunfire though. A police riot squad pulled up. Suddenly we all stopped fighting each other and started fighting the cops so we wouldn't get arrested. Garbage cans was flying, some of the Lost Boys got stabbed. Everybody fighting everybody, and someone started swinging the long blue wooden police barricade. Hav and a bunch of us ran to the train, but a lot of niggas got locked up that night. On a train ride home, 2 white boys were standing on the platform with bloody faces. They said that a bunch of black dudes had just jumped them and cut their faces up. Wow, everybody was wildin' that night. Now that I think about it, it might have been the Lost Boys. To this day, my people from Jamaica tell me they heard about that fight. Some say they saw the Lost Boys come home all bloody that night. It sounds like a scene from a movie, but it was real. Steve Rifkin informed us that we were banned from performing in Manhattan for 2 years after that 20 West show. We were getting into too many fights and destroying clubs, so somebody with power banned us. We never found out who it was, but that bullshit ban didn't stop us. We were still doing shows worldwide. Our music was on fire all over the map. We didn't know our music would affect people's lives the way it did. It made us work hard to keep that feeling going. We saw people dressing like us, talking like us, even drinking like us. They tried to make beats and rap like us. A lot of people started using infamous and attaching it to their name. I wasn't feeling that. Get your own shit. Get off of my pole. Even Biggie started calling himself the Notorious after that. I wonder where he got that idea from. Chapter 6. Hell on Earth. The store-bought rap ain't shit, my category is that of an insane man who strike back. I draw first blood, it's over with and that's that. G.O.D. Part 3. Life was hectic when we were young. The night after the 20 West brawl, the whole 12th Street crew was on the block drinking, smoking, joking, and playing dice. A chick from the hood came walking by with a dude who wasn't from QB. He was a slut everybody ran through, so the crew started calling her over. She came, and my man Karate Joe met her halfway. The dude she was with didn't look too happy about this and kept his distance. Joe spoke to Shorty for a while, and the kid got frustrated and told the girl to hurry up. "Yo, mind your business," Joe looked over and told him. The kid said something slick back to Joe, and about 5 of my boys responded by walking over toward him. The kid acted like he had heart, walked over to us, and exchanged more words. Then the kid reached in his pants and pulled out a gun. But he was so nervous that he dropped it on the ground between him and Joe. Everybody paused. Joe looked down like he wanted to reach for the gun, but it was closer to the kid. The kid reached down quick, picked it up, and everyone hauled ass. Hav ran top speed into a pole and bust his forehead open. I wanted to run from the bench where I was sitting next to the kid, but I couldn't because I was too close. He'd definitely shoot me if he sees me get up and run. So I just sat there. He squeezed the trigger at my boys, but the gun was jammed from being dropped. He scrambled to fix it and looked over at me and pointed the gun at my face. My adrenaline was going crazy. I wanted to run or duck, but something told me just to be still. The kid started squeezing the trigger towards my face, but the gun still didn't work. So he ran out the projects. Everybody came back to the benches. "Yo, why you ain't run?" my boys asked. "He was too close. If I ran, I would have been the last one," I said. "I would have been the one shot in the back." After we laughed it off, I went upstairs to lie down because my sickle cell was acting up. I thought I was about to get shot in my face. Shit. I thought I was about to die. I took about 6 Advil and went to sleep in Hav's room. After a few hours, loud shouts from outside woke me up. When I looked out the window, the 12th Street niggas was beefing with some niggas from another block. Some tall dude kicked Noyd in the chest and knocked him down. Karate Joe walked over and everybody backed up. Nobody wanted to fight Joe. He was a boxer and he knew karate. He and Yammy were our secret weapons. The argument spilled on the 10th Street, and from the window, I had the best seat in the house. Trip, aka Godfather, chased some guy around the car 20 times with a knife. Noyd cut someone across the face with a razor. The next afternoon, the nigga who Noyd cut shot Noyd 3 times on 12th Street, right next to the hill. Bullets in his leg, arm, and middle finger. Noyd wanted us to put out his solo album, but we didn't have our own label or money to sign and promote him properly. We told him to have patience and it would happen soon, but he didn't listen. He got Karate Joe to manage him, and they started shopping for a deal without telling us. We were upset, but Noyd explained that he had bills to pay and couldn't wait around for us to get a label deal. We understood and we let him go. After Noyd got shot up, fans, radio stations, and magazines were all talking about it, amazed that we were living the life that we were rapping about. Feeling all that fake love from people boosted Noyd's ego and made him want to be a star on his own. You know how that story goes. Like when 50 Cent first came out and nobody gave a shit until he got shot and almost died. Fake love. A few months later, Noyd landed a deal at Tommy Boy Records. We helped him with the production. He dropped Episodes of a Hustler and sold a disappointing 30,000 copies. But the streets loved Noyd. It could have been way bigger than it was. The original plan was for Havoc and me to convince Steve Rifkin to give us our own label, Infamous Records, and sign Noyd and the whole crew, the twins, Ty Nitty, Godfather, and Gotti, plus Chinky, a female R&B singer who was Harlem hustler Alpo's niece. No one had patience, and we all needed money, so we split up with separate plans. Havoc and I were mad at Noyd, though. Mobb Deep was responsible for making him a star, so he should have stuck it out with us. Right after Noyd's album was released, he got locked up for shooting his kid 3 times in the stomach for messing with his baby moms. It happened right in front of his building in Queensbridge, and the police were looking for him. I told him to dye his hair blonde and wear a fake nose ring for a disguise. We all laughed at that one. It wasn't funny when Noyd got caught and sentenced to a 1 to 3 year bid. Tommy Boy Dropnoid. We kept his name alive by performing his verse from Give Up the Goods at all the shows. Yo, it's the RAPPERNOYD. Niggas can't fuck with me. The crowd chanted his verse along with us word for word. In August 1995, the Source magazine hosted the second annual Source Awards at Madison Square Garden. We were cool with the owners of the magazine, so we got a bunch of tickets and the whole crew went. I even brought Kiki. I'd always tell her that it was too dangerous to come out with me, but I wanted to bring her along and make her feel good. We all got drunk and high and went inside and took our seats. Havoc and I were presenting the award with Wu-Tang Clan, so we kicked it backstage with them in the dressing room. Hav was so bent that he fell asleep on the floor. Kiki and I walked back to our seats to watch the show. In the middle of Biggie's performance, Hav came into the crowd screaming, "Somebody took my fucking chain, yo! Somebody fucking robbed me, son!" We jumped up to help him find his chain. Come to find out, Raekwon saw Havoc drunk on the floor in the dressing room and took his chain off his neck so nobody else would snatch it. Ray pulled it out his pocket and gave it back to Hav, and we all calmed down. Death Row hit the stage and did one of the illest shows ever. Their stage setup had jail cells that opened up one by one as they performed Stranded on Death Row. After the song, Snoop Dogg started screaming on the mic, "New York ain't got love for Snoop Doggy Dogg. New York ain't got love for Death Row." I sat there wondering, what the fuck is he talking about? He was really feeling himself because of all the money and power they were displaying on stage, but he took it a little bit too far. All the hooping and hollering made Snoop sound real stupid and left a sour taste with everybody from New York. After Death Row was done, Mobb Deep and Wu-Tang hit the stage to present an award. When we went back to our seats, Suge Knight, the co-founder and CEO of Death Row Records, came out in a tight red shirt and tight-ass pants with his ass crack hanging out the back. He started dissing Puffy, talking about how he danced in all his artist videos and how niggas should come to Death Row. "To all you artists out there who don't want to be on the label where the executive producers all up in the videos, all up on the records, dancing," Suge shouted, "you come to Death Row." After Suge's little hatred speech, Biggie took the stage to perform and won the award for Best New Artist. The new year passed. During the summer of 1996, sitting in my grandmother's house, I drew an idea for a pendant to go with my chain and brought it over to my man Manny in Midtown Manhattan's Diamond District. He did custom work for rappers way before Jacob, David, and all those other guys. Manny loved my drawing, a miniature Mac 10, about 6 inches long and 1.5 inches thick, all solid gold. "Make it so I could take the clip in and out," I requested. He charged me $5,000, and it was the illest piece ever made in the history of rap jewelry. The only pendants that could compete with mine before or after were Run DMC's miniature gold Adidas sneaker, the first sneaker pendant, Ghostface's giant Versace head, the biggest pendant ever made, Big Pun's giant tombstone, the heaviest chain and pendant ever made, my platinum and Marquise Diamond Infamous Records piece, the first pendant made with Marquise Diamonds and the first 40-inch long chain, Nas's giant platinum QB piece, and 50 Cent spinning platinum G unit, the first pendant that could spin. Jewelry was a bad habit and a competition as far as I was concerned. If you couldn't compete, then put your chain in your shirt when you come around me, 'cause I make your little bullshit look stupid. Some people hook up their car. Some people were heavy in the designer clothing. My thing was my 16 bars and my jewelry. Towards the tail end of the summer, we chilled in Queensbridge, taking a break from all the touring and recording. Havoc and his crew loved basketball, NBA and college. They were real serious about it. Every day, they'd play for money on the court in front of Hav's building. They all played on school teams when they were younger. Ty Nitty and Twin Gambino were the best. In the honeycomb hideout, I sit on the couch while they were all excited and I didn't even know what the hell they were screaming for. They tried explaining the game, but I just wasn't into it. When they played on Hav's block, I'd sit on the bench and try to learn the rules. I never got into any sports because when I overworked my body, it triggered my sickle cell pain. One of Havoc's close friends from Queensbridge, Ron Artest, played for the St. John's University team. Anytime his games was on TV, we made an event out of it and hit the honeycomb with a bunch of weed, liquor, and beer. Ron was real good, and everyone was hyped that he was going to be in the NBA soon. In autumn 1996, almost half the 12th Street crew went down to North Carolina to get out of New York for a few months. Most niggas went down south to hustle, but Havoc, Twin, Gotti, Godfather, Nitty, and I were there for a vacation and to get our driver's licenses for the first time. We couldn't get them in New York because of our driving records. The DMV computers weren't connected back then, so my New York record didn't show up in North Carolina, and the test was way easier down there. We got them in one day. Down south, they got something you won't find in New York: Southern hospitality. Girls moved us into their homes, cooked for us, let us drive their cars, and a whole lot more. Mobb Deep was real popular in the South, so we had it extra easy. We loved the dirty South. Havoc's homie Star from Queensbridge, the one who paid for the studio time for our demo, had moved down to North Carolina and was doing well for himself. He had the streets on smash and opened up a few strip clubs and nightclubs in Fayetteville and Greensboro. Havoc, Ron Dude, the twins, Godfather, Nitty, Gotti, and I were all living in a small 2-story shack on Juniper Street by Duke University in Durham. Star paid for us to perform at one of his spots in Fayetteville. It was packed. After the show, we were so drunk that Twin Gambino and I fell asleep in the spot. When I woke up in the morning, Twin Gambino and I were laying on the carpet in Star's office in the studio. Where's everybody? I was disoriented. Why am I on the floor? We were locked in the club with no way out. Yo, Twin, wake up, I said. Where's everybody at? He didn't know either. Neither of us had a cell phone, so we just had to wait. Luckily, the club was huge and had pool tables, video games, and a kitchen with a freezer full with French fries and chicken, so we fried us some food. After our meal, we turned on the DJ equipment, went behind the bar, mixed some Seagram's gin and orange juice, our favorite drink at that time, and played a few games of pool. 5 to 6 hours later, Star, Havoc, and the rest of the crew came back for us. They said they tried to wake us up the night before, but we were both out cold. Twin and I reminisce about that night for years. Around that time, this new truck came out called the Tahoe. There was a Chevy dealership right by the house in Durham, and I finally had my license. It was time to buy my first brand new car. Gotti and I went to the dealership, and right away we saw a black Tahoe with gray leather seats that we liked. This badass saleswoman worked there, brown skin, real pretty, with a big dirty South fatty. You know, we went straight to her. She took us for a test drive, and after 2 minutes, it was sold. Impressed that some young black kids from New York would a truck that fast, she gave us her phone number and told us to come chill with her later. We did. My man Dude was making scrambled eggs for breakfast the next morning when Snoop and the dog pounds New York, New York video came on TV. These niggas was in the video, stomping all through New York's landscape and kicking over our buildings. Rondu, Gotti, and I immediately looked at each other and said, these niggas is trying to play us. First Snoop was flipping at the Source Awards, and now this? It was time to get back home. Right before Christmas, we made the 10-hour drive back to New York. Havoc bought a green Chevy Blazer from the same spot I bought my new Tahoe. We drove back to back. We had been in North Carolina for 3 months, the longest Havoc and I ever spent away from the recording studio. We immediately got started on our next album. The first song we made, LALA, featured Capone and Noriega and was aimed at Snoop in the Dog Pound. Marley Marl made the beat, and we shot the video a week after we recorded it. We blocked out a few months at Access Recording Studios in Manhattan, next to the famed nightclub, Studio 54, and stayed there 24/7 making a new album. After The Infamous had so much success, Havoc always let me choose the names for our albums. "I'll leave that up to you, P," he said when I asked for his input. "You good at the album title shit." I came up with a good, strong name, Hell on Earth. While we were recording at Access, DJ Premier and Little Dap and the Nutcracker from Group Home started hanging out at the studio a lot, smoking blunts with us while we worked on our music. Lil Dap was laid back, and Nutcracker was literally a nut. Our engineer, Mario, didn't like us smoking cigarettes in the control room. He'd get pissed off and scream, "Would you guys please take the smoke outside?" Mario was a good engineer, so there'd be like 10 of us smoking Newports on the balcony. A big pair of binoculars on the balcony brought us directly into the high-rise apartment windows all around us. We saw naked women, couples fighting, people having threesomes, all kinds of stuff. The studio management complained to Mario and Steve Rifkin at Loud because we left cigarette butts and Philly blunt guts all over the floor and spilled beer and liquor everywhere. We tried to clean up our act so we can complete our album. After pulling a late session one night, Havoc, the Twins, Little Dap, Nutcracker, Ty Nitty, Gotti, and I left the studio around 3 a.m. Havoc and I were the last two to come down to the lobby. And when we got off the elevator, we saw Nutcracker sitting Indian style on the lobby floor, clutching the studio bathroom air freshener can in his hands. We looked at him like, okay, and left the building. The next day on our way to the studio, we got a call saying that somebody in our session the night before took a shit on the carpet. We started cracking up, but the studio wanted to ban us from coming back. The only person who seemed capable of taking a shit on the carpet was Nutcracker, but we never found out for sure. Lil Dap and Nutcracker were our homeboys though. We got love for them, whether Nutcracker did or didn't leave a pile of shit on the studio carpet. One of Premier's friends told me that one day, Premier let Nutcracker use his car, and he brought it back crashed up pretty bad. Nutcracker didn't mean to crash it, but when he had to face Primo and show him the crashed car, it hurt him so much that he pulled out a 9mm and shot himself in the foot to show Premier how sorry he was. That incident happened in the hometown of Group Home and DJ Premier, Brooklyn, just in case you were wondering. Yeah, Nutcracker was bugged out. LA quickly started getting airplay across the country. The press turned a rap battle between the Dog Pound and Mobb Deep into an all-out coastal war with the East and the West. Tupac had just signed with Death Row, and when he heard LA, he decided it was time to prove his loyalty to his new camp. Pac put out a song called Hit 'Em Up, going at Mobb Deep, Biggie, Nas, and Jay-Z. Somebody in QB played it for us on a little boombox outside. Yo, Pac is dissing y'all, son. It was cool, but he couldn't fuck with us. Why the fuck is Pac coming at us? It took me a minute to figure out why he was dissing us. Then it came to me that he just signed to Death Row and Snoop was his label mate. So Pac decided to take it upon himself to jump into the drama. That night, we went straight to the studio and recorded Drop a Gem on him, going right back at Tupac. My rebellion, retaliate, I had a whole New York state aiming at your face. Got 100 strong-arm niggas ready to rock your shit. Clocks tick, your days are numbered in low digits. You look suspicious, suspect niggas is bitches. You chopped up, grade A meat, something delicious. We were the only ones to make a comeback song. Biggie made his little jokes about his wife Faith Evans having 2 Pacs, but that wasn't a war song. And Nas and Jay-Z, well, I guess they just decided to fall back. Jay-Z wasn't even popular yet. He had only one single out with Foxy Brown called Ain't No Nigga. It was weird that Pac targeted him too. There was tremendous tension in the air. All of Queensbridge was ready to ride with us, and I'm sure Pac had plenty of soldiers ready to kill for him. We talked about it on the benches on the block every day. It would have been a mess if we ever crossed paths. Pac bumping into Nas at the MTV Awards was nothing compared to running into us. Nas was like the older wise man. Mobb Deep were the little niggas you can't control. There wouldn't have been any talking. Tupac started doing interviews displaying his hatred towards us. In one of his interviews, Pac spoke about the time him and his crew bumped into Mobb Deep in Atlanta and how they had us scared. When I heard that interview, I didn't know what Pac was talking about. We never crossed paths with him or his crew. After a while, I remembered some dudes screaming, "Thug life," as we left a Juvenile Hell in-store appearance. That must have been what Pac was talking about. Some meaningless bullshit. Tupac was just furious, because we was going at him and Snoop without a care. Mobb Deep held it down for New York when nobody else would, because they was scared of them Death Row boys. Less than a month later, in September 1996, Tupac was murdered in Las Vegas after a Mike Tyson fight. He and Suge Knight got into an altercation and jumped a member of the Crips gang inside the MGM casino. Didn't these fools know that casinos have cameras covering every angle of the joint? Right after they jumped the guy, Pac was shot 4 times while leaving in Suge's BMW. He died 6 days later. When we found out what happened to Tupac, we immediately pulled our song Drop a Gem off of the radio out of respect for his family. To tell you the truth, we felt sad that he was killed, but relieved at the same time. It would have seriously been a problem if we ever clashed with homie. We were glad it never got to that point. Years later, I found out that my peoples E-Money Bags and Majesty and Stretch were real tight with Tupac. One of the members of Tupac's group, the Outlaws, Young Noble, is Majesty's blood cousin. So, though we didn't know it back then, we were all on the same team anyway. Back in Queensbridge, Tragedy's man Noriega, aka Nori, started hanging out on 12th Street. He told me he was from Left Rack, but I ain't never seen him when I was living out there. Nori had just came home from jail where he had met Capone after Capone had gotten locked up for supposedly shooting a cop in the neck right in front of Havoc's building. He only did a few years for that case and somehow came home early. One night that winter, Havoc and I were on the block with Karate Joe, Gotti, Nitty, Trip, this kid we called Bill Cosby, and this other kid, Johnny. Havoc started flipping out, saying he heard Tragedy was fucking his lady Shauna on the low, and he wanted to step to Tragedy about it. We all walked over to Capone's building next door, where Tragedy, Capone, and Nori hung out. Hab knocked on Capone's door and asked him to tell Tragedy to come outside. Tragedy came out with Nori and Capone. "What's up, man? You fucking with Shauna?" Hav asked. Tragedy said it wasn't true, but Hav wasn't trying to hear it. "I know you fucking with Shauna. Stop fucking lying." Hav punched Tragedy in the face and knocked him to the ground. While he was getting back up, Karate Joe warned Tragedy, "You better not hit him back." Hav punched Tragedy again and knocked him down again, while we surrounded them, watching. Nori was getting nervous, seeing a nigga who he thought had strength in QB getting his ass beat. He was worried he was going to be next, so he reached for his gun, pulled it out, and shot one bullet at the ground between all of us. The bullet bounced off the cement and hit my man Johnny in the shin bone. Nori ran for his life out the projects. Tragedy and Capone ran into the building, and someone drove Johnny to the hospital right away. The next day, Johnny came through the block on crutches with a cast on his leg. Nori could never show his face in Queensbridge again. About a month passed, and some unknowing fool set up a show for Mobb Deep and Capone and Noriega at a little club called Crystals on Merrick Boulevard in Jamaica, Queens, across the street from the bus terminal and up the block from my grandmother's dance school. The only reason we went was so we could catch Nori and torture him for what he did to Johnny. The whole crew pulled up and parked our trucks in the bus terminal facing the club to get a good look at everybody out front. Tragedy and Capone was standing at the front door facing us. Nitty spotted Nori walking over to them. "Anyone got a razor?" Nitty asked Twin and me, but we didn't. Nitty, Twin, and Money No approached Nori. "Come over here so we could talk," Nitty told him, putting his arm around Nori's neck and walking him into the street. After a few steps, Nitty started punching Nori in the face while he had him in the headlock. Nori dropped to the ground and the crew jumped him. Gotti, Havoc, and I stood by the trucks and watched them beat the clothes off of that boy. Man, I never saw somebody get jumped so bad. They were like dogs fighting over a piece of meat. Karate Joe grabbed Nori by what was left of his shirt and dragged him into the corner so he could have him all to himself. He focused strictly on his rib cage, destroying Nori's ribs with punch after punch. Nitty snatched Nori's Jesus piece off the ground and we hopped back in our trucks. While Nori was getting jumped, his boys Tragedy and Capone didn't move. They just stood in front of the club watching the whole thing. Some of Nori's peoples carried him to the parking lot around the corner. I already knew what was going to happen next. "You know they about to come from that parking lot with guns," I told Twin Gambino. We sat and waited. I popped the hood and told Twin Gambino to get my gun out. I just bought an automatic 22 with a 12-shot clip, but like an asshole, I never tested it out. After a few minutes, just as I predicted, a few of Nori's people came dragging him from the parking lot with a Tech 9. I was sitting in the driver's seat. Gambino was outside, standing at my door. We had to drop on them, meaning we could move on them before they saw it coming. "Start shooting," I told Twin calmly, but the gun didn't fire. The piece of shit was broken. Nori's people started unloading their gun on us. As their bullets started to explode, Gambino got frustrated with my broken gun and threw it at them. "Shoot him!" Nori pointed at Nitty, who was in between my truck and Havoc's truck. "Right there!" Whoever had the gun shot Nitty in his back as he was trying to jump into my back seat. Plus, the shooter dumped the entire 42-shot clip at us, and not one of the shots hit the two trucks. I was shocked. The only target they hit was the person they was after. Luckily, Mary Immaculate Hospital was right around the block from Crystals. Nitty was screaming and bleeding like a pig in my backseat as I sped to the hospital in less than 5 minutes. When we got to the emergency entrance, Money No, Twin, Karate Joe, and I dragged Nitty inside. The D showed up a few minutes later to question everybody. 2 detectives came over and questioned me while I was smoking a cigarette outside the emergency room door. I told them we were about to do a show, and somebody started shooting at us for no reason. "We don't know who it was," I said. They asked me over and over to see if I was lying, but I kept saying the same thing. Eventually, they got tired and left. Havoc thought he found out who was snitching on his brother killer. At the trial, at Queens Criminal Court, the whole crew sat in the middle of the courtroom, waiting to see who the DA's star witness was going to be. We couldn't believe it when he came walking up to the stand. It was Capone. Was Capone the fucking snitch? Capone got up there and said he saw Killer pull a trigger and shoot the man in the back of the head. He pointed at Killer. "I saw him do it," he said. "He shot the man." He was on the stand, snitching like it was cool. Later, I heard he was trying to lower a sentence for a case he had caught for a direct sale to an undercover. Wow. The false testimony Capone gave wound up backfiring. The autopsy report said that the man was shot in the front of the head, not the back. Killer beat the case. After that, Capone tried telling everybody that he did it on purpose to help Killer beat the case. What? I don't know for sure. Maybe he did know what he was doing. Maybe his testimony did help. But from then on, instead of Capone and Noriega, the whole hood called them Canary and Nori Faker. While Killer was locked up, he became a full-fledged Muslim. When he came home, it took a while to get used to. This wild-ass nigga is a peace-loving Muslim now? I liked the new Killer, though. We'd have deep conversations about life. I started reading books by Dr. York, a spiritual leader from Bushwick, Brooklyn, who taught about the origin of all races and religions. If you listen to the Hell on Earth album, you could hear how my rhymes started changing at that time. I started rapping about the Illuminati, secret societies, the corrupt government, and becoming more conscious of my surroundings, going through a mental and spiritual change, just like Killer. That seed that my mom's planted in my head with Malcolm X's autobiography was starting to grow. My lady Kiki and I had to move because she wasn't getting along with her moms. After a while, her moms busted me sleeping in her closet, so I stayed over a lot now that her moms knew. My cousin Stobo and his baby mother just had gotten a 2-bedroom apartment underneath the train tracks in East New York, Brooklyn, and offered us an extra room. Kiki was 4 months pregnant, and we found out we were having a boy. I was happy. Yeah, I'm ready to have a son. I didn't even know what being ready to have a kid meant. I was just ready. We were really in love. I had been all over the world and realized that Kiki wasn't one of those money-hungry hoes. She was a special girl. Kiki was 8.5 months pregnant when my man from Art and Design, Illa G, came back to New York from Virginia. Remember that kid with the Scorpio ring who was scheming on me in the school bathroom? Yeah, he ended up being one of my closest homeboys, the rapper Illa G from Sumner Projects, Brooklyn. G had taken over his cousin's dope neighborhood down south in Richmond, Virginia, while his cousin was serving 7 years. His cousin called G like, "Yo, take over my neighborhood for me." G approached me, and I'd given him some startup money before he went back. "Pete, put a little bit of money up, and I can get you a whole lot," he promised. And he'd been down there getting mad money. He was shining with a huge Mary Mother of God piece hanging from a big gold link, similar to the one I bought Havoc back in the day, but without the ruby in the middle. G told me he had to hook up with some guns in Virginia for dirt cheap. I was in need of new toys, So I decided to drive down on a Friday, get the hardware, and head back to New York by no later than Monday. G and I slept at these two girls' crib on a block full of dope addicts called Church Hill, the same place where G had been staying while he was out there getting money. Saturday morning, G got in contact with the Connect and told him what we wanted. 2 9mm Rugers. And that same afternoon, the Connect came back with the hammers and we gave him the bread. Things were going even faster than I planned. I should have left as soon as I got what I came for, but instead, I decided to hang out at some club that night. Stupid move. On the way back from the club to the girl's house, we ran into a roadblock. G was driving my black Tahoe. He didn't have a license, and the 2 girls were in the back seat. There were at least 7 cars ahead of us before it was our turn to show paperwork. So G and I climbed over each other and switched seats. The hammers were in the engine, but I kept the clips in the car because the temperature was so hot I didn't want the bullets to explode in the engine. When we got to the roadblock, the cop asked for my paperwork. "I saw you guys switch seats," he said. "Step out the truck." The officer searched the truck, found the clips, and asked where the guns were. "There aren't any guns," I told him. While he was searching my truck, he saw the blood stains on the floor and the seat belts in the back right side passenger door from when Nitty had gotten shot. "What's this?" he asked. "Blood?" I told him the truth. Yeah, my friend got shot. I had to take him to the hospital. "Oh yeah? When did this happen?" He was acting like we had just committed a murder and he was going to get promoted to captain for busting us. He read me my rights, impounded my truck, and sent me to the Richmond City Jail for the clips. They didn't have anything on G and the girls because I took the blame for the clips, so they caught a cab home. When I was finally allowed to use the phone a couple of hours later, I called home and told Kiki to call my Uncle Lenny so he can contact his sister Connie in Richmond to get me a lawyer. "I told you not to go down there. I told you so," she said. "Now I'm going to have this baby while you're in jail. I told you so." After 2 days on the Richmond County tier, Illa G and the 2 girls came to visit. We laughed about what had happened and laughed some more. G is a funny nigga. He always cracked me up. I was locked up for 2 weeks before I saw the judge. Aunt Connie had a government job and had me transferred to the county medical ward so they wouldn't send me to the penitentiary while I was waiting to see the judge. After 2 more days, they moved me to the medical ward and gave me shots of Demerol every 5 hours for sickle cell pain that I wasn't even having. Shit, I'd rather be chained to a hospital bed getting high on Demerol around the clock than sitting in a jailhouse with a bunch of dirty South criminals talking about, "Hey, yo, Mobb Deep, can I rap for you? I know your cousins out here, just ask them." 3 days later, I went to court. Aunt Connie had got me one of the best lawyers in the state of Virginia. I got out the same day on $1,000 bail. Aunt Connie was waiting for me outside. Aunt Connie's a tough lady. Smoked a lot of cigarettes and drank a lot of Jack Daniels. "Come on, I'm taking you to see your cousins," she said. "You know you owe me big time now." She took me back to her crib to visit my cousins Manu and Diallo. I hadn't seen them since I got my first tattoo. As a kid, I was scared of them because they used to always fight and fuck each other up. I figured if they did that to each other, then they might do the same to me. My cousins were way more calm and cool now. Manu, the older, bigger brother, had been shot in the face a few times with a Uzi submachine gun a year before. He was heavy into the streets in Richmond. I heard about the shooting from Uncle Lenny, but Manu's face didn't look as bad as I had imagined. He had 2 bullet hole scars next to his right eye that looked like little bubbles. I figured an Uzi would Swiss cheese his whole face. Mano and Diallo were happy to see me because now they had a famous rapper in the family. It was a big thing for them. They showed me off to all their friends and took me around the neighborhood. It was filled with heroin addicts. Young kids out there thought it was cool to smoke weed and sniff heroin. They called it diesel. I wanted to check out the mall across from their house, but my cousins were banned for starting too many fights. I was just as happy to hang out with them. It was a coincidence that my cousin's friends were hustling with my man Illa G from New York. They told me that he was doing his thing in the streets. Richmond was a small community, and anybody who's somebody knows each other. I had to stay until my court case was over. The lawyer promised he would make it as quick as possible. They also kept my truck impounded until the case ended. I called home every day because Kiki was about to give birth. Plus, she was planning a baby shower in Brooklyn and wanted me to get DJ Clue to do the music. She was mad at me because I got locked up and couldn't be there with her. A whole bunch of I told you so's. I felt bad. But she was going to be alright. I had to make sure my freedom was going to be alright. I contacted Clue, and he said he would do it. DJ Clue made a big name for himself by using a lot of Mobb Deep songs on his mixtapes before the songs were even supposed to be out. We found out later that he was getting the songs from an engineer we used to work with named Duro. Little did we know, Duro was Clue's partner while he was our studio engineer. Clue owed us a lot of favors. After a couple of weeks of hanging out at local clubs and in the Richmond hoods with my cousins and Illa G, I finally got my case thrown out. At my last court date, my lawyer was like, "Look, you don't have a gun, so you don't have a case." To top it off, my lawyer was so good that he made the DA give me back my clips right in the courtroom, fully loaded with black talons. Holy shit, I never saw or heard nothing like that in my life. Illa got me a ride to the pound to pick up my truck. Man, this is feeling like deja vu. I thought that as soon as I told them my name and that I was here to pick up my black Tahoe, they were going to lock me up again for the guns in the engine. 2 guys behind the desk were giving me dirty looks and told me that I had to wait while they processed my information. 20 minutes later, a black detective car pulled up and 2 Ds walked inside the pound lot and started searching my Tahoe all over again, taking their time. For sure, they're gonna pop the hood and find them. But they didn't. They gave me my ride back and I was out. Back at my cousin's crib, Illa, Mano, and Diallo helped me wash the remaining blood out the carpet before I drove back to New York. When Nitty got shot, I had washed the blood off the seats and the door, but never got around to the carpet. It still wasn't all the way out, but it was the best we can do. I thanked my cousins and Aunt Connie and got the fuck out of Dodge. Even though I had a minor setback and paid an extra $2,500 for the lawyer's fees, it was a mission accomplished. I had 2 new guns with full clips, all together inside the engine this time, and I was on my way home. When I got back, I wanted to kiss the dirty New York streets. I was so happy. I went straight to Kiki's crib, and we packed our stuff and moved in with Stobo and his baby moms in East New York. It was a small railroad apartment, but we had our own space, and we weren't going back and forth between Kiki's moms and grandmoms anymore. 1996 was a year of tremendous joy and pain. A few weeks later, Illa G's brother Tim called me and told me G got locked up in Virginia. He was in somebody's crib and got raided by the task force, he said. They found weapons, drugs, boxes of money, bulletproof vests, and charged G with kingpin charges. They sentenced Illa to 5 years in the Virginia penitentiary. Crazy. I was just with this nigga. Killer Black started busting his gun again. He had a smart mouth and got into an argument on a hill in Queensbridge with this drug dealer named Dope, who was clashing with Little Lord. Dope pulled out a .22 revolver. Killer tried to grab the gun, but Dope squeezed the trigger. A bullet went through Killer's hand. He let go and started running. Another bullet hit his arm. Then another hit the back of his head. Killer dropped to the ground. When he realized he wasn't dead, he got up and kept running home. Later that night, Killer called and I went to his crib to see him. He was wrapped in bandages, and you could actually see the bullet sticking halfway out the back of his head. One of his boys found pain medicine from some girl, but he needed me to take him to the hospital in Long Island to treat his wounds. He couldn't go to a hospital in Queens, or the D's might come for questioning and lock him up. So I took Killer to Mercy Hospital around the block from my crib in Hempstead. The bullet in Killer's hand had gone in and out. The other bullet broke his arm. He didn't even tell him about the headshot. The bullet was just stuck in his skull. After they put a cast on his arm, he laid low at my grandmother's crib for a week before going back to QB. All that Muslim stuff was out the window, and Killer went right back to business. That bullet to the head had him acting strange. He wasn't that quiet, no-nonsense Killer Black we all knew. Late one night, I pulled up on a hill at 2 a.m., and like 20 dudes were up there hustling, drinking, and doing the regular. A bunch of them called me over, asking me to take Killer home because they couldn't control him. "You need to take care of your homie, he bugging," they said, scared he might do something to one of them. Killer leaned against the wall with a look in his eyes like he was about to snap at any minute. I put him in the car, drove to his block, and we walked up to the crib. On the way, he was slurring his words, and I realized that he was just drunk and needed sleep. The next morning, he called early, asking to borrow some money. So I left my bed in Brooklyn and went to Hav's crib to give Killer some dough. Since coming back from North Carolina, Havoc had moved out his mom's crib and was living in the Best Western City View Hotel in Long Island City, Queens, bringing girls by and living the life. When I got to his crib in Queensbridge, Killer showed me how he had been picking at the bullet in his head, which finally came out after a few weeks. "I've been seeing things in my room at night," he said. "I've been having conversations with the Egyptian King Tut. I know it sounds crazy, but I'm really seeing and talking to King Tut." I listened real close, because even though Killer did some wild shit, Killer wasn't crazy at all. He was very intelligent. The only time he ever shot somebody for no reason was when he killed that guy for the Walkman speakers, and he was extra drunk that night. Any other time he fired his gun, it was because somebody was trying to mess with him or mess with us. We spoke for a few hours. I gave him the money and left. Killer walked me down to the door, and we had a few last words. While we were talking in front of the building, this little dude named Worm rode past on a pedal bike and shouted out, "Oh shit! Yo, Prodigy, what up, kid?" Killer and I were ending a deep conversation, so I didn't pay the kid much mind. "What up?" I said. He stopped his bike, but I just figured he was mumbling, excited to see me. Killer and I gave each other a pound when the little dude rode off shouting, "A word? It's like that? All right." The fuck was that about? I wondered, brushing it off. Twin Gambino and Money No were waiting for me in the Tahoe. We drove to the corner store to buy a White Owl blunt. Money No hopped out to get it, and while he was in the store, I saw my man Bumpy riding a pedal bike across the street from 40th Avenue with the little dude Worm on the back, standing on the pegs. "Yo, that little motherfucker over there got a gun out," Money No said when he got in the truck. I turned and saw Worm swinging a chrome .45 caliber in his hand, shouting something. "So what?" I said, grabbing the White Owl from Money No, opening it to roll up the weed. Gambino was staring at Worm. "Pull off, P. This nigga bugging," he said. "I'm not pulling off because he's got a gun," I said. "Fuck he gonna do, shoot us?" "Yo, P, pull off," Gambino said again. "Son, I'm not pulling off with this little clown. When I'm supposed to be scared because he got a gun? If we pulled off, he might think we were scared of him. If somebody's waving a shiny chrome gun around, then that person's obviously trying to scare somebody. If he was going to use the gun, why would he wave it around for 5 minutes first?" Gambino demanded that I pull off. And as soon as I bent the corner on the 21st Street, this little chump shot the gun in the air just like I thought. I'll deal with him when I'm back on this side. I dropped Money No and Twin off and bounced to see my baby Kiki. That night, I took Kiki out to eat at a diner on Jackson Boulevard down the block from Queensbridge. She ordered her favorite dish, shrimp scampi, and I ordered my usual, the broiled filet of sole. 10 minutes into our meal, Kiki's water broke. She'd been having some contractions all day, and we later found out that seafood induces labor. We rushed to St. John's Hospital on Queens Boulevard, and they pushed her in a wheelchair straight to the delivery room. "The baby's coming," the doctor said. "It might take some time." Man, I was happy, nervous, anxious, shook, and a whole bunch of other emotions all at the same time. I held Kiki's hand. She was crushing mine while she breathed and pushed, in and out, in and out. After an hour, I started seeing my son's head, his shoulders, and then finally, with her last push and crushing hand squeeze, our bloody little boy was born into the world. It was truly the most amazing, nastiest thing I ever saw. The worst part about watching my child's birth was seeing them pull out the placenta after they cut the umbilical cord and seeing my woman shake uncontrollably because her body temperature dropped extremely low after the baby came out. The nurses wrapped like 7 blankets around her. I was definitely scared for her as I held her hand. The Dr. York books I had been reading spoke about how hospitals inject babies, especially black babies, with microchips and diseases at birth when they vaccinate them. I followed the 2 female nurses when they took my son to another room for the shots. I was going to refuse the shots, but I let them do their job and kept a close eye on every move they made. I figured if they wanted to do something, they could just do it late at night when I was gone, while Kiki was sleeping. Fuck it. They let me stay with Kiki for 30 minutes before kicking me out. The first thing I did was call my pops from the payphone in front of the hospital. He had just gotten out of jail and was living in Atlanta with his new wife. "I just had a baby. I'm a father." It was like I hit the lottery. "You're a grandfather." Then I called my moms and everybody else I knew. My first baby boy, Shaka Keon Malik Johnson, and I was there when he was born. I spent all kinds of money on baby polo, Nautica, Hilfiger, all the fly gear for Shaka. I bought clothes he couldn't fit until he was 3 years old and kept it all in a stash. Then I realized I was wasting my money because my little man was growing so fast. My pops came to New York a month later to see his grandson. He was cheesing like a motherfucker when he saw Shaka. I hadn't seen Pops in 5 years. He looked old and had lost a lot of weight. He stayed with my grandmother in Long Island for 2 weeks. I didn't get to see much of him, but we hung out 2 or 3 times. One winter day, while we were at Access Studio, the worst thing that could ever happen happened. Havoc, the twins, Godfather, Gotti, Money No, and I had all stayed at my crib in Hempstead the night before, planning how we could become a stronger team. I suggested that we take it easy on the drugs and alcohol. It's slowing down our progress, I said, as we sat in the basement smoking and drinking. We should do whatever work we need to do first, then get high when the work's finished. That way, we're more focused on getting and staying rich. Everyone agreed. But they weren't really ready for a new way of thinking and living. My leadership qualities began to manifest. I started becoming the more enlightened one of the crew, because I was the only one reading about the past, present, and future of the world, current events, politics, proper nutrition, spiritual health, and the origin of all things. Dr. York's books are truly one of a kind. Nobody alive on this planet has the comprehensive understanding that Dr. York has on such a vast array of topics. That man's books boosted my intelligence level beyond this physical dimension and gave me the information I needed to step out of the sleep spell that mostly all of us are in. I was wide fucking awake, and I was able to see if another person's eyes were wide shut or wide open. I started looking at the world differently, seeing things nobody else could or wanted to see. Passing by a billboard advertisement on the street or watching a movie, I saw hidden messages and symbolism while almost everybody else just saw the outer layer of information. The things I was learning about, the origins of symbols, secret societies, and civilizations, gave me the ability to see the spell we're living in and those responsible for casting it. It's all around us. It's rather spooky. The 1988 movie They Live by John Carpenter, starring Roddy Piper, explained exactly what I'm talking about. Using sunglasses as a metaphor for learning information. When Roddy Piper put the special sunglasses on, he saw all the evil in the world. When the glasses were off, everything looked normal. He tried to tell his friends to put the glasses on so they could see what he saw, but his friends were so comfortable with their lives, they didn't want to try. He had to force them to put the glasses on, and they finally saw the spell that these aliens had the entire world under. I wish learning this information was as easy as putting on some glasses and suddenly waking up to the real world, but it's not. It takes time, dedication, practice, and a hunger for knowledge to grasp it all. That's why many try, but only a few succeed. I was no longer understanding the world. I was now overstanding it. Among the first major things I overstood were the popular sayings, ignorance is bliss, and misery loves company. We were all living in a state of blissful, ignorant misery. People would rather have a good time than deal with the dark realities of the world because that's easy and learning is hard. Learning is a never-ending process, hence the term knowledge is infinite. The crew noticed that I was changing and gave me two nicknames, The God and Science. Trip came up with the names. The same night, I came up with the chorus for the song G.O.D. Part 3, On Hell on Earth. We were drinking lime Bacardi on Hav's block, and I started chanting, G.O.D., Father Part 3, QBC, sip lime Bacardi, heavy on the wrist, Q blink and ice ring, drama we bring, yeah, that's a small thing. That's also when we started calling Trip Godfather. We stayed up most of that night talking about how slavery began, how religion was created to control people, and how the U.S. government was really a puppet for the British royal family. Mostly I spoke to them about not getting high or drunk until our daily business was handled. In order for us to have continued success in this business, we have to start adapting to the corporate world, I urged. The twins, Gotti and I, spoke the most because they were the only ones who showed interest. Everyone else listened for a little while and got frustrated because they didn't want to overstand, so they conveniently removed themselves from the conversation. Hey, for some people, change takes longer than others. I knew I had to be 100% clean and sober soon. Mentally, I just wasn't ready for that yet. But I was off to one hell of a start. The next day, we woke up around noon, and Hav had already left for the studio in Manhattan. Havoc always got up early in the morning to start working on songs. He has this saying, the first awake and the last asleep. The twins, Godfather, Money No and I were in my truck a few hours behind him. When we got to the studio, Havoc had this ill beat that I immediately started writing a verse for. Nighttime Vultures from Hell on Earth. Flashbacks, a gunshot shot past my head. I could recall a 8-man brawl, 3-man fall. Bullets flew, had to drag my man behind the wall. Left a wet trail, delivered each slug like airmail. While I was writing my verse, I kept dozing off from staying up all night. An eye for an eye, you know my science of life. Is you men or mice, thugs or the cowardly type? I balled up my leather jacket as a pillow and took a power nap on the studio carpet. 3 hours later, I woke up and noticed several missed calls from a strange number. I called the number back and it was a detective. He told me that my Tahoe had been in an accident on the West Side Highway and I needed to come to the precinct on 125th Street in Harlem. That woke me up quick fast. Somebody must have taken the keys from my pocket while I was asleep. Gotti and I took a cab uptown. Inside the precinct, the detective sat me down and explained the accident. Your truck flipped over more than 10 times while getting off the 125th Street exit, he said. Get up and put your hands behind your back. The motherfucker started reading me my rights. He said I had warrants in Long Island for traffic violations. By the way, he said, after he cuffed me, your friends are dead. I heard detectives screaming at Godfather in a nearby room. They put me in a holding cell and brought Godfather to the cell soon after. We took your truck uptown to get some trees, Godfather explained in the cell. I lost control when I switched from the fast lane to the exit. He was damn near having a nervous breakdown. As mad as I was, I felt bad for him. He had just killed his lifelong friend, Jamel, the Scarface twin. Scarface flew through the window and his neck got cut from ear to ear. His other friend, Ghostface, from QB, was decapitated. He just started hanging out with us. They found his head and sneakers on one side of the highway and his body on the other. Jamal, Twin Gambino, stayed strapped in the passenger seat with a broken collarbone. Money No was in the back seat. His spine was almost crushed. Another one of our homeboys, La Scally, was found up in a tree with his head split open. He was lucky to survive. Godfather was driving and unscathed, not even a scratch. Nassau County Police came to take me to the county jail, and the NYPD took Godfather to Rikers. It was Friday night. I didn't get bailed out until Monday. That was the foulest feeling ever, sitting in my cell in complete shock. I couldn't imagine what Jamal was going through, losing his twin brother. I wonder how Jamal's gonna take this. Everybody loved the twins. They were outgoing and always ready to party. They showed me more love than Havoc and anybody in QB. Haz's more of a recluse. The twins introduced me to everyone, took me everywhere. Uncle Lenny came to pick me up from jail. When I got in the car, he told me that my father had just died of AIDS from sharing needles with other dope addicts. What the fuck else can happen? I knew Pops didn't look healthy when I last saw him. He'd gotten so skinny, but I thought it was just old age. Damn, AIDS? Kiki was waiting at my grandmother's crib. I laid on my bed and cried about everything. Gilmore's funeral home on Linden Boulevard in Jamaica, Queens was packed for Scarface Twins' wake later that week. Man, people loved the Twins. A bunch of girls who the Scarface Twin had relationships with were there. He was in a casket in his favorite outfit, a denim suit. His face looked real swollen. Afterward, some of the Twins' friends from 40 Projects in South Jamaica threw a block party. The Lost Boys DJ, Grandmaster Vic, DJ'd, and we were all doing our best to keep Twin Gambino in good spirits. I let him hold my big Figaro link with the Mac 10 pendant, and we drank, got high, and got on the mic for a rap session, trying to have as much fun as we could. Southside Jamaica and QB partying together in 40 Projects without drama, a monumental moment. The following night, Twin was mourning his brother's death on 12th Street with a broken collarbone and a bunch of friends from QB drinking, smoking, and reminiscing old times and lighting candles. The block started clearing after a few hours, but Twin stayed on the benches drinking. This little nigga Worm came through the block and saw Twin wearing my big chain. Worm walked over to Twin and pulled out a Tech 9 on him. "Take the chain off." I don't know why he wanted to mess with Twin just days after his brother died. Twin looked at Worm and told him, "Pull a trigger." Worm got scared and ran away. The next day, Twin gave me my chain back and told me what happened. He wanted to kill the kid. He was a problem that definitely needed to be dealt with. Then, as if we weren't going through enough emotional pain, we found out that Yammy had gone upstate to take over the crack game in some town by the Catskills. Yammy had the town scared of him, Yammy's brother Buddha told us. One of the local drug dealers ran up behind Yammy with a bat and cracked his head open. Yammy was in a coma on life support because he was brain dead. Damn. Yammy was one of the strongest niggas I knew. He gave us the name Infamous. A Golden Gloves champion who could kill you with his hands and would kill you with a gun. He loved us. He loved Mobb Deep and was always very protective of us. Fuck, not Yammy too. A few days after Worm's disrespectful botched robbery attempt, I went to Atlanta with my moms and Uncle Lenny to identify my pop's body before they cremated him. Kiki and our son Shaka joined me. When we got to the crematory, I saw my older sister Kim, my father's daughter from another relationship. We never saw much of each other growing up. She's about the same age as my brother Greg, 12 years older than me. My father was in a black plastic bag on top of a gurney. They zipped open the bag and there he was, laid out stiff. I looked at him real close and saw a drop of blood trickling from his nose. My mother shed some tears, but I was tired of crying. I looked at him for a while and then left. It took about 30 minutes to cremate him. They handed me his ashes in a plastic bag inside of a small cardboard box. My father's girlfriend gave me a leather briefcase with his watch, pictures, and notebooks filled with computer tech writing. He was working for IBM at the time of his death, setting up computer systems for colleges. I miss my pops. There were a lot of questions about life that I never got to ask him. The deepest question I ever asked my father was the night we saw Boys in the Hood while he was on the run in Cali. "Is there a God?" I asked as we were walking from the movie theater to his apartment. "Yes," he answered. How do you know God is real? I've seen God before, he said. If you've seen God, then what did God look like? God looks like water. Water? Yeah, Pop said. God looks like water. We finally finished Hell on Earth and did the album photo shoot. I came up with the idea for all of us to sit at a round table and leave a chair next to Twin empty so we could insert a ghostly image of his brother Scarface. We let Money Know from Hempstead sit at the table with us since he was a part of the crew now. It wasn't a small thing for us to add a new face to our family. It was big for him to be in that picture. Noy came home from jail just in time to get in the picture too. We missed having him around. In that round table picture, you see Gotti, Nitty, Twin Gambino, Noy, Money Know, Godfather, Havoc, myself, and the ghost of Scarface Twin. It was the best crew picture we ever took. At a show in Boston, the night after the photo shoot, the Lost Boys finished performing as we arrived, and the promoter wanted us to start right away because the crowd was getting rowdy. As Shook Ones came on, a dude with dreads in the front row started slamming into people, and the whole front row beat him up. The venue owner turned on the house lights, and the DJ stopped the music. But it only got worse. Chairs were flying. "Put the fucking music back on!" I screamed, but the promoter wanted to stop the show. Mr. Cheeks from the Lost Boys approached me and said, "I know we had beef in the past, but we gotta stick together tonight." I laughed and agreed. Gunshots started popping as people stampeded toward the exit doors. We slipped out and got into our cars, talking to females as they left the spot. The dreaded dude walked up to our car, chest naked, with his pants ripped, blood all over his body and splattering from his mouth. "Mobb Deep, what?" he screamed. "I'm still standing. They can't stop me." We've been cool with the Lost Boys ever since that night. Then more bad news. I got a 911 page on my beeper while driving and pulled over to use the payphone to call back Hav's boy Bolo. "Killer Black is dead," Bolo said. "Yo, don't play with me, man. Don't joke like that," I said. "It's not funny." "I'm serious. He committed suicide." I didn't believe it, so I went to QB to find out what happened. Havoc told me it was true. Killer shot himself in the head with a 9mm in the bathroom. People were saying Killer was with Tragedy at a club that night, and Killer may have smoked some weed with dust in it. I knew Killer. He might have been crazy with the guns when it was time, but he wasn't mentally crazy or suicidal. This was totally out of his character. Hav's mom said Killer closed the bathroom door, turned on the sink, and she heard a pop. She didn't realize it was a gunshot. She heard water running. She went into the bathroom, but it wasn't water. It was her son's blood. His head slumped in the sink. It felt like a black cloud hovered over us all the time. There was so much death around us during that short period, it felt like we would curse for all the wrong we've done. We shot a video for our title track, Hell on Earth, just before Killer shot himself. And Killer Black made his final cameo in that video. Killer was in our first video, Peer Pressure. And in the verse that Havoc wrote for me, I rap about a kid named Kenny who started drinking, smoking weed, and messing up in school. At the end of the verse, Kenny committed suicide. It's spooky that Killer Black played Kenny in that video. Upset about his brother Killer's death, Havoc started drinking heavily. I became addicted to prescription pain pills, like Percocet, that hospital sent me home with for my sickle cell. The high made me forget about the stress and the death, at least momentarily. We took a 2-year break from doing shows, radio, and interviews. We still made music in the studio and did a lot of features and movie soundtracks within those 2 years. Like Nas's Live Nigga Rap, Das Effects' Microphone Masters, Mariah Carey's The Roof, LL Cool J's I Shotcha and Queens Is, RSO's The War Is On, Shaquille O'Neal's Legal Money, Exhibit's Eyes May Shine, Big Pun's Tres Leches, Blondie's No Exit, KRS-One's 5 Boroughs, PMD's It's the P97, A+'s Gusto, Crash the Boards from the Hoodlum soundtrack, Rare Species from the Soul in the Hole soundtrack, and the America is Dying Slowly compilation albums Street Life. I also appeared on a bunch of songs with drug dealers who paid cash to have a song with Prodigy of Mobb Deep. A $20,000 check here, $10,000 in cash there. It was good money. Hav did production for Biggie, Foxy Brown, Nas, and a bunch of drug dealers who paid cash for a Havoc beat. Havoc was doing beats for LL Cool J at the Hit Factory in Manhattan one night, and LL asked me to rhyme on one of the songs. When I arrived, Hav was passed out drunk on the couch. LL was with his A&R, Benny, and plus a camera crew. LL told the camera crew to film us as we were listening to my verse, stopping the music midway to talk shit to the camera. "Yo, Hav, what are you doing?" Benny suddenly yelled out. Havoc was standing up, taking a piss on the gear rack. About $30,000 worth of equipment and mad electrical wires. Still half asleep. Then Hav laid back down on the couch and kept sleeping. He didn't even realize what he had done. "Your man is out of control," LL said. I told the camera crew that they had to erase that part of the tape, and LL agreed. That was far from Hav's first drunken blunder. A year before, Havoc invited me to the studio where he was producing a song for Biggie Smalls called Last Day, featuring the Locks. "Yo, Big wants you to come to the studio," Hav said. "He wants you to get on the song." "I don't want to do a song with Biggie, he's corny," I said. I wasn't a fan of Biggie's music at that time. Go ahead without me. After a long studio session, Hav was so drunk that he left his beat disc in the machine, leaving behind all 6 songs he had crafted that day instead of 1. Somebody ended up using one of the beats for Black Rob's I Love You Baby on the Puff Daddy and the Family album. I could tell as soon as I heard it because it had Hav's signature drums, bass line, and all. "Hav, that's your beat," I said when we heard the track. "That motherfucker stole your beat." After Biggie's Life After Death album came out with that track, Last Day, that Hav produced, I became a huge Biggie fan and regretted not doing the song. I was a hard-headed young fool back then. In March 1997, we got more bad news. Biggie Smalls had been shot and killed in Los Angeles at an after-party. There was a lot of tension between New York and California, but the media was turning the Mobb Deep and Biggie versus Death Row feud into a coastal war, making it seem worse than what it was. Now that Big and Pac had been murdered, it felt like we were next on the hit list. The feeling of death lurking around the corner enhanced our already existing I don't give a fuck mentality. Of course, we didn't want to die, but with all that was going on in our lives, we became extremely fearless and ready to defend Mobb Deep at any cost. My 5-year probation for the gun charge I caught at 16 was coming to an end. I transferred my probation from Manhattan to Hempstead, Long Island, because it seemed easier out there. Wrong move. I was always ripping and running, and missed a few phone calls to my probation officer. So that little meat-faced P.O. violated me. When my lawyer Irv Cohen and I took it to trial, I must have had the most racist judge in Nassau County. The Archie Bunker-looking bastard sentenced me to a 1 to 3 year bid to be served immediately. They threw me in cuffs and took me to Nassau County Jail. After 3 long weeks in the county jail, I beat the case with my appeal. I was finally free. 1 to 3 years? Fuck that. I'm gone. Archie Bunker, kiss my ass. The whole gang still went to the tunnel every Sunday like church. One Sunday, a few weeks before New Year's 1998, we saw Keith Murray by the bathroom on the 2nd floor. We had just arrived and met Chris in the bathroom to get our bag of weapons. I finished passing out the weapons, and we walked out. And this punk-ass nigga is standing there, looking scared to death when he saw us, because he was by himself and probably heard all the stories of us beating people raggedy. Noyd and Twin were fiending to get him. "What's up?" they were in my ear asking. "We got the drop on him." "Yeah, we got the drop on him, but for what?" I said. Even though he had asked if I was talking about him on that skit, he never said or did anything offensive to me, so I told him to fall back. "Leave him alone," I kept telling him. "Leave the boy alone." We had so many weapons, we would have killed that boy. And it wasn't my style anymore to take advantage of a weak, defenseless person. At that point in my life, I realized that it was wrong to abuse the destructive power we had. You only hurt people when it's necessary, I told myself. My boys were upset with me for not giving them the green light, but I knew it was the right choice. After a few hours of partying, Money No, Godfather, and I left early with some girls. It was close to Christmas, 1997, and snow and ice lined the ground outside. Money No and I walked to the parking lot to get my car, while Godfather walked with the girls to their car. Money No and I were waiting for the light to change, to cross the street, when we saw Keith Murray with 4 of his boys standing 10 feet to our right. "Yeah, what's up now?" one of his boys said to him. "Let's see what's up now." "Pass me your gun," Money No said. I had a big 9mm on my hip all night. "Nah, chill," I said. I wanted to fire the shots. "What's up with all that shit you was talking on your album?" Keith Murray walked up and asked after his boys pumped him up with gas. "Are you serious?" I looked at him and asked. "How am I gonna shoot this dude and get away with it?" I was thinking. "All right, I'm gonna take him down the dark shadows toward 10th Avenue. One of Keith Murray's boys and Money No started beefing about who could fight better. I suggested that we take it across the street, out of sight, so the cops wouldn't break us up. They reluctantly agreed. As we crossed the street, Money No kept asking for the gun, but I refused. I couldn't wait to get in the shadows of the next block and see the look on their faces when I started squeezing bullets at them. Now, should I shoot to kill, shoot to wound, or shoot to scare them? I decided to just shoot Keith Murray and wound him. A police squad car was coming up on my left when we got to the double yellow lines in the middle of 11th Avenue. Keith Murray jumped in front of me like he'd changed his mind about stepping into the shadows across the street. I could see him ready to swing. "The cops are right there," I warned him. "Chill until they pass." But he decided to punch me in the mouth in front of the cops. How corny is that? My first thought was, this nigga punches like a girl. My second was, get distance between these cops immediately before backup arrives and we all get frisked. The police put on the sirens and lights. I ran to get rid of the gun behind the van, tossing it in the snow, covering it with more snow. Then I looked up. Money No knocked out Keith Murray's man. He hit the ground and slid on some ice underneath the cop car. As I was walking back toward them, Keith Murray was talking to the cops, pointing at us, saying that we started it. The police was cool. They simply said, "You guys go that way, and you guys walk the other way." Them niggas don't even understand how lucky they are. God was truly on their side. I guess God was on my side too, because I might have gotten locked up. Keith Murray must have felt death down that dark street. When he saw that squad car coming, it must have been like Jesus Christ coming to save him. New Year's Eve 1998 fell on a Sunday, and the tunnel was on fire as usual. Godfather and I stole 2 hoes from their pimp, Diamond and Strawberry, Puerto Rican dimes from Albany. They told us homie was lame, pimping them in the club every Sunday, and they wanted to work Queensbridge. We headed out the club with them. I realized that I left my car keys with Gotti, gave my gun to Godfather, and told him I'll be right back. Back inside the tunnel, I walked all over trying to find Gotti. I noticed dudes wearing Death Squid hats, Keith Murray's crew. I saw 2 hats, 4, and more. Minutes later, with the dudes following, I bumped into Karate Joe, Bill Cosby, Nitty, Twin, Gotti, and a bunch of the 12th Street crew. I told Gotti to give me my keys. "These dudes is following me," I told Karate Joe. He didn't even wait for me to tell him who. Karate Joe punched the face off the poor dude behind me, who wasn't even down with the Death Squid. The 12th Street crew started fighting everybody behind me. Twin grabbed me out the way, holding me behind him, slicing and dicing faces with a razor. I asked him to give me one. Twin just kept cutting, not even hearing me. We chased the Death Squid pussies through the club. I ran outside and told Godfather to give me my gun, thinking that whatever was left of the Death Squid would come running out, but they never came. 10 minutes later, the crew strolled out laughing. "Where's the Death Squadron?" I asked. "Them niggas in there bleeding," Joe said. "They probably need an ambulance." Godfather, the girls, and I walked to the parking lot to my new black Lexus GS 300, which I bought with some of my feature money. We drove the hoes to a cheap motel next to the Highland Tunnel, where their pimp kept them, to get their clothes from their room. They ran out the hotel with 2 stuffed garbage bags. We took them to QB and started pimping them the next morning. Diamond and Strawberry were 2 good-looking Puerto Rican broads with fat asses and nice bodies. We took them to Chang's, the Chinese food spot on 40th Avenue. Mr. Chang and his employees were our first customers, in the car behind the restaurant. Then we walked around the hood with them and made a few $1,000s. It gave me a new respect for pimps. Pimping ain't easy. It's a full-time job, and I ain't got time for it. My run as a pimp was over within a week. Godfather kept Diamond and Strawberry for another month and got tired of it too, so he left them somewhere in the city. I told Kiki what we were doing, but she probably didn't even believe me. A spiritual war was going on within me. All the things I was learning about life and health had me wanting to stop doing the drugs and living the grimy way I was living. But at the same time, all the stress and pain, drama and criminals around me made me not care about being peaceful and cleaning up my act. My coke habit and drinking were affecting my sickle cell. All the partying was finally starting to catch up. Not long after my little pimping episode, an OG in Queensbridge went to cop a bag of coke for me in the projects late one night. This was our regular routine, because I didn't want people to see it was Prodigy buying from them. Never sent a broke cokehead to buy coke. The OG came back and gave me a bag of something that wasn't coke, or coke mixed with something that smelled and tasted like plastic. Now, I don't know if the dealer gave him a bad bag or if he dipped in my bag and replaced what he took with some bullshit. Later that night, my head hurt and my sinuses swelled up above my eyes. My sickle cell started acting up and I had to go to the hospital. They told me I might have spinal meningitis and stuck a needle in my spine to remove some fluid. I didn't have meningitis. I knew damn well it was from the coke. My head looked like E.T., and I felt ugly and embarrassed when Kiki came to see me. The doctors asked Kiki and Uncle Lenny to leave the room for a moment. They told me that they found cocaine, PCP, and marijuana in my blood. When Kiki and Lenny came back, I admitted that I was using cocaine and angel dust. Kiki was mad as hell, and when I explained how long I'd been using, she couldn't believe it. After I healed, Kiki told me when she saw my face and head swollen like that and found out about my drug habit, she wanted to leave me. That scared me into wanting to change my life. Sickle cell pain had brought me close to death many times, but the thought of losing Kiki was worse. It was time to put all the righteous information I was learning about into serious practice. It took a few more bangs on my hard head for me to finally get my shit together. But from that night on, I never used cocaine again. Twin and I waited for an hour in the freezing cold to get inside the tunnel one night, about a week after my hospital stay. Chris Lighty wasn't at the door, and the bouncers were hating on us, making us wait outside forever. The cold triggered my sickle cell. By the time I got inside, I was in super pain, with no pain medicine. I thought of my own remedy. I drank Hennessy until I was numb. The next day, I went to the hospital and had to stay for a week. My man Shamik from Left Rack came to visit me and brought fish, biscuits, and shrimp from Red Lobster next to Left Rack City. He made surprise visits with Red Lobster a lot when I was in the hospital. We talked about the latest jewelry, fashion, and rap drama. Shamik was a cool dude. He had come up since the nickel and dime days, became real big time in the drug game. A few days after I came home from the hospital, Shamik invited me to Gordon's strip club on Hillside Avenue in Jamaica, Queens. He was meeting his homeboy E Moneybags and Nas, so I went. Shamik was selling drugs for E Moneybags, and they were talking in code language about their dealings, while Nas and I spoke about the Nation of Islam's 120 lessons in the rap game. We drank for a few hours, and then we left. My niggas and I were never into giving out money to strippers or getting lap dances. Always looked at dudes who did that like they were herbs, suckers, or cornballs. Tricks is the pimp terminology for those types. While I was driving Shamik back to Left Rack, I asked him to give me the 120 lessons. Sha was what we call God Body from the 5% Nation, now known as the Nation of Gods and Earths. Males are called God Body and women are Earth. They believe that the black man is God and that we shouldn't be praying or waiting for Jesus to save us. We should be creating our own destiny. And if we want life to be better, then we must make it that way by doing positive things. They have some very interesting concepts. And I didn't want to join them. I just wanted to acquire their knowledge. Shah had been given his God Body name, Shamik Allah, when we were little kids in Lakeview. Growing up, there were a lot of gods in Hempstead and Lakeview, Long Island. And ever since I started reading Dr. York's books, I wanted to study the 120 lessons and learn knowledge of self. Dr. York teaches that we should know the origin of all things, and I wanted to learn their origin. Shah ran up to his apartment and came back with an unbound booklet of lessons. People would Xerox loose copies and pass them around. Some people even hand-wrote the lessons with a pen and pad. I went home and didn't stop reading until I was finished. Like I said, I wasn't planning on becoming a follower anyway. I'm just an addict for information, especially the facts. I started realizing that all religions were created to control the masses on this planet. They control the people through fear of God and the devil, heaven and hell, dick in my nuts. I'm not into race hating, and I don't rely on religion for my spiritual health. I've got my own relationship with the Creator. The only thing I believe in are facts. And the fact is that when we were in Africa living in peace with the universe, we didn't have Bibles or corrupt corporations. We were spiritual people with our own way of life. We didn't need for anything because it was all there for us naturally in infinite abundance. Africa is the cradle of all humanity and civilization. We were advanced in technology, agriculture, architecture, medical procedures, math, science, astronomy, astrology, and health practices, long before the Greeks and Romans. Don't believe the lie when they say Caucasians came to Africa and found black people living in destitution as unruly, cannibalistic bush babies, and they had to save us from our evil, savage ways, clean us up, civilize us, and transform us into wholesome, upstanding Christians. This is all propaganda created by the Caucasian pirates to conceal their true agenda of the largest land, natural resources, knowledge, and population heist in history, not to mention the largest mass genocide. We thrived independently for millions of years before they invaded our lives with their wickedness and lifestyle of the beast. When we were enslaved and shipped to America, the Europeans forced us to follow fairy tale religions so that they can control our minds. They forced their banking system on us to control our lives with money. If we don't agree with their system and refuse to believe in their religions, then we get killed, sent to jail, or locked in a mental institution. I could write an entire book on that subject alone, and I will.